working right now, so.
Gus,
Well, that's true.
do you want me to start with an overview of where we are in the budget? Because I know I presented some numbers to you initially, and then I gave you that update on the issues that we have with the insurance, that we went into a little bit more to make sure I had the right figures on that.
Starting with town council.
Would you like me to do that?
Sure, why not? That wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
Just up in there. I had it kind of disappearing.
Okay, so as you recall, when I put the budget together, I mean, I had to do a lot of this. Karen, before she left, didn't really have an opportunity to spend much time with me, so there wasn't a lot of information around here. So I did reconstruct it, and I did it using, your maximum levy limit, because that's what's shown up on the DOR website all the time. That made it easier to do.
Right.
And I pointed out that with all the requests we had, we need about another $1.5 million, in the budget, to do what we needed to do.
Mhm.
And I pointed out that you could do that because you could go to the maximum levy, but it would be a really large, tax increase.
We haven't done maximum levy in many
No,
years.
exactly. So we don't
Yeah.
certainly want to do that. So what I did again is, go through, I reviewed the things. There were two things that helped an awful lot. One is in the original budget, the $600,000 that we had for the capital in the schools, I had in the budget because that's the way it showed up in 2023. But capital has already used that for free cash, so that takes that out.
Right.
The other part of it is I went through the department budgets and I eliminated any new position that was added this year or requested this year, plus a recent one. So I can go over that with you when
Okay.
we go through that. So it went from like the $15,860,000 that I had in that figure down to 15,581. So there's a reduction of about almost 280,000. So
we're talking about the general government item?
yeah,
The general government total, according to our budget, is 20.4 million.
no, I mean I'm sorry, I'm talking about the general government operating.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. According to the voting document. Where are you getting this number?
Well, I wouldn't look at the voting document. That voting document, I don't know what else is in there. I didn't spend a lot of time on that, so.
Well, which document?
Yeah. What is it?
Well, in the packet, let me pass it out. That's
Please, that'd be good. Because we don't have the same piece of paper.
Well, you do have it, because in the budget pack that I put in there where we have the line item budget, it does show up on that very first sheet, not the voting document.
Which budget? Because this is what we, according to our, have you seen the agenda for this meeting?
Actually, I haven't seen it.
We're already in the minutes, yeah.
Your second page of the letter.
Oh, okay.
This
Oh,
one.
that document. Okay.
Yeah, if you look in where it says general government operating.
Oh, this stuff.
You got it, yeah, you got it.
Um,
In section 1, second page.
General government document. Okay. 15.86 million. Okay. Okay, so where does that number come from then? Because that doesn't match our voting document.
All right, now listen, on the voting document, let's look at the voting document. I did not spend any time on the voting document. Hannah, if you want to explain how you handle this thing.
Voting document?
The reason I didn't is that we know it's going to change. In other words, if that's what you guys vote on this thing, then I'm sorry, because I didn't realize that was what you would use. But where are you referring to the 20 million?
Okay, that's in the document that's labeled the voting document,
No,
which
I
is
know
section
what the
2 of the
voting
budget book.
document is, right.
Yeah, that's in there.
So what section?
If you go down to the general government total, it's 20.4 million.
Page 2, right here.
Yeah, page 2.
Just as a point of order, we skipped over the meeting minutes. Are there any meeting minutes? Because we skipped right to the agenda.
You're right, we did. I haven't. And actually, he kind of started this as a summary, because we haven't actually got to any specific agenda items. He was summarizing where things stand, which I thought is important since he does this as the first time he's created a
Since we
budget
don't
for
have
us.
meeting minutes,
He kind of
maybe
jumped
meeting
into it.
minutes Monday and take care of those first, then you jump into all the
I
minutes.
actually don't have anything to say.
Well, you'd have to see if they all ended up with that.
It's including some other figures that don't go into.
Where are you looking at 20 million?
It's in the voting document, in section 2.
Section
Page 2.
Okay.
So you brought the,
Let,
yeah, I guess
let me pass out what I'm planning on passing out, so you understand what I'm really talking about on that. These are the items that you have, but we have the ability to really make a change on. Because these are the proposed budgets from all the departments that are in general government.
Right, okay. Which should be the ones that are in our agenda.
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Which are the ones that should be in our section 3 of the budget book.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other small ones that are in that section that really don't belong in this agenda.
Everything that's
Right.
in your
All right.
section 3 should match up with the
Okay.
agenda.
What I tried to
The
do.
There's a
voting
couple-
document seems to be, I don't know what happened there.
Well, I know what happened there. I didn't look at the voting document because I knew these numbers were going to change. I knew that you weren't going to vote to raise the budget by $1.5 million. So
Okay.
the voting document, Hannah was nice enough to update it based on the sheet I gave her, but I don't know where it came up for 20 when at the time it was what I just showed you. So what we did is we took the general government department items, which are, and this is actually color coded, so you can see, for example, Department of Public Works, those in a certain color.
Right.
So you people are doing the general government total.
Yep.
Okay? All right. But the general government operating budget for all these items, right now, I'm recommending $15,581,071. But at the time the budget was prepared, when I presented that first figure that showed between $1.5 million, the budget figure was $15,860,596.
Okay.
So basically, if you look at the FY24 town manager recommended, the biggest reductions come in the Department of Public Works, and that's basically the recommended elimination of the construction inspector position and a $41,000 clerk that was hired, was filled for a while, but wasn't used. So I consider that a relatively new position. So that would be what I would recommend. In the assessors budget, there was $45,000 put in for an additional clerk for billing, which I recommend we don't do. And then in the inspections, there was a request to make a part-time position full-time, which again I recommend that we don't do. So that brings us down to that $616,000 that I mentioned that we have.
Okay.
So,
Okay, because this is the first time I'm seeing this paper.
Well, of course it is, because we only prepared it last week.
Okay.
Yes, it really just takes the summary that we had before, which in the previous book last year, when they had that in there, they were just all alphabetical. So we put them into the subcommittee categories that we'll be reviewing.
In this that breakdown makes more sense, and it would definitely be better to have the budget book set up this way. But they never have that. I don't know
I'm
why they
remembering
set
that.
up where they
I'm gonna
are.
remember that for next year. Don't fight me. You won't be here, but
I'll be around.
you'll
It's
be
not
around.
on this
So
ta-
remember
this
that he
table.
said that next year, everyone.
Yeah, I
Can't fight you.
I actually did have hopes of using a different detailed budget format that
Okay.
brought you down to, salaries, supplies, contract things, that make it a lot easier to look at what the budgets were. We looked at several different ways of doing that, but unfortunately, we just didn't have the time with the people to make that change. So that's why, the budget that you have, presented here is the same format that you always had, well, you've had
Right,
recently. as
and
far
I
as
understand,
coming
and I
around. understand
understand that, and I appreciate that. I mean, you've only been here for 4 months, so I can totally appreciate that. Okay, good.
so I want to understand you correctly, because there's a lot of numbers being thrown around.
Yep.
So you're saying that with the current budget now you're proposing, we're going to need to raise from the tax
No, actually, that would be,
I'm trying to understand what
Okay.
you're.
okay, so if you recall, like, when I presented the budget the first time to you, I showed you that, $1.5 million increase. And that was, going to the
In the
maximum
total
levy
operating
limit, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing, the whole total budget, you'd have to go to the whole levy limit, okay? So recognizing you don't want to do that, what I did is prepare the sheet that would start with your FY '23 levy limit, and then you would add the 2.5% plus the new growth, plus the debt exclusion from Bay Path. And that would be normally what you would, go with. I mean, that's what you've gone with for the previous, few fiscal years. If we did that, we would need an additional $616,000 to make this budget work the way I presented it here with the elimination of those new positions. And what that means is that you had the ability to raise an additional $1.5 million based on where we would be in 2024 with the new growth and the 2.5% on last year's maximum levy limit, which you didn't tax to. So what I'm saying is that the bottom line is, at the end of this, if you did go along, with this budget and approve it, that 616 would mean that you would still have about 879,000 below your levy limit. And if you look at where I think we were before, when I reconstructed the budget for my first pass at this, I went to, as I mentioned, the DOR website, and I went to your maximum levy limit for each year. And that meant that for 2022, you taxed $900,000 less than you could have, okay? And what I had for 23, with the growth there, you taxed $1.5 million less than you could have. So what I'm saying with this, with going to the FY '23 levy limit, plus the additional 616,000, you would still be 880,000 under your limit. So you
So
go back to where you were.
We would be within normal operating.
Pretty close.
Where you have been
We
historically.
wouldn't have to go to a proper 2.5.
Oh, no, you wouldn't have to in any case go to an override for that. But in other words, you'd be consistent with where you've been before for the amount, kind of on the low end because you were higher last time.
That's good, okay.
And then the other part of
That's
it
good
that
to
I think the council might want to consider is that, we do have $3 million in free cash, and it is, you've used it wisely, put some in stabilization, not using too much for capital. And it's not unusual for a community to use a portion of that to offset the tax rate.
Right.
200, 300, 400, whatever. So in other words, if when we finalize this and we get a number that you're comfortable with, you feel that the 616 adds too much to the average single-family tax bill, the recommendation would be to maybe take 300 or some number from free cash and apply that to reduce the tax rate. And I think we'd be in pretty good shape on this whole.
But then
Okay.
wouldn't that risk having that rate come up and then worse the following year?
Well,
Because
not
it's
when
a
you only
one-time
do that
increase.
much. I mean, you're
Okay.
right if you do too much. I mean,
Okay.
some communities, when I was in Paxton, for example, they didn't have a lot of free cash.
Yeah.
But every year, they would use the entire amount. And I told them, look, if we ever get a year where something happens that we don't get the new growth, we don't get whatever, it's gonna be a problem, because then you have to make it up twice. So if we keep it to that range, I don't think there'd be a real problem.
That makes sense.
It's
I just want to make sure I don't run.
Well, that's a good point.
That's good enough. Okay.
So with that, I think if you wanted to, start going through the department budgets,
Right.
and if there are areas that you feel, should be changed either up or down because of some reason, let me know. I mean, I
Okay.
know that, I guess the charge of this is, subcommittee is not to change anything, but I'm certainly relying on you to get your input on,
Well, we can,
what you want to set.
We can make
priorities.
recommendations.
yeah, historically, the subcommittees have made changes, usually not a huge amount of changes. And it seems like we have a bit of a floating practice of doing things. So EHS just last night just only voted to recommend certain changes, but voted the whole budget items up, which is honestly not something we've ever done before. And actually, while we get started, I just wanted to bounce this idea off you, Charlie. Because one of the things that I raised at EHS is that it would be particularly difficult with the schools because of what Dr. Villar was saying about the minimum school spending, which their budget basically already just hits. But I was wondering if you could take a look at what it would do to our budget if we were to put a hold on all COLA raises for the year. How much of a difference would that make?
Well, we've got that figured.
You have, okay, good.
Again, I did a lot of, checking what that would actually be, so we can
Okay.
get you that number.
Because when I was thumbing through the budget, I was kind of basing it roughly on, I kind of did a quick calculation based roughly on what it would be, what you would add 2% to the revised budget for 2023. But I figured, looking at the numbers, just specifically to the salary and wages line for these various sections, but I don't know if everybody that would be covered by that would be getting COLA or not. Like, for example, do people,
Well, some
and I
cases
should
we
know
have
this,
the- we
whether,
have the- we
whether
have the
somebody who's
step
getting a
increase
step
for
raise,
some
does
and
somebody who's
COLA.
getting a step raise get COLA as well?
And then you have the union
Yes,
who get it
they do.
because they're.
Yes, 'cause COLA
I
is just a
thought
cost
so,
of living
I thought
increase.
so, but I just wasn't sure.
They do because the COLA is built into the steps.
It is, okay.
And people have contracts,
I know.
and you
Right.
can't just, in the middle of a 3-year contract, decide you're not going to give them, because
Right.
they'll all be out on the street, and that will not help the system at all.
Well, that's why I'm asking, I just wanted to see what it would be done, what we could do, and if necessary, because, see, if we can figure out some way to, honestly, to see if we can ask the employees to be willing to do that, just to see if we can make a little bit of a dent, because we've got so many expenses coming down the pike in the next few years, that it's already getting to be pretty heavy on the tax.
All it's gonna do is cause more of our workforce to unionize, and which we have to give them increases through contracts. So because the only way you can target COLAs is for non-union employees. You can't target COLAs that are guaranteed through contracts. So that means that we're penalizing our non-union employees and giving them an incentive to unionize and then cost us more in the long run. So I'm not
I
a
can
fan of
understand
going
that.
after
I can
COLAs.
understand
I
that.
think there's much more logical ways to go after new positions, new spending is identified, and just cut off some of the little extra things that we've added in the last year.
I'm not
I
disagreeing
think
with that, I
would
just
be
wanted,
more
I just wanted to get
productive,
some
and
idea of
it
what
would
that,
harm
what
our
that would do.
workforce morale if we start cutting COLAs.
I don't
Especially
wanna
when
get
some
rid of it by
departments are
any
getting
means.
huge bonuses and COLAs, right? So
Right. But,
In a year that the cost of living has gone up 8%,
No, it hasn't.
and most people are getting a 2 to 3% increase, they're not going to back down.
I'm not
And if
disagreeing
they
with this
do-
issue, I agree. It's hitting everybody.
Yeah, it's hitting
It's hitting
everybody,
everybody.
but you,
we have a general responsibility to take care of it.
I'm not disagreeing with it. I just want to see what the numbers look like. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, especially in the climate where it's difficult to, hire new people.
I
I think we
agree.
want to make sure that we're taking care of our staff.
Okay. Anyway, the agenda item number 4 is the town council budget in the amount of $20,650.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
I only have one question.
Good.
On the town council salaries, the wages for the town council recording clerk.
I bring this up every year. It's always put at $10,000, but we never use that to capacity. And the reason I'm always told that we keep it in there is because then we're gonna have recording clerks doing work at subcommittees too, and that hasn't happened. So I'm wondering why we continuously put money into that, to that amount when we're not using that.
Is that something that, we can talk about that?
Sure.
If that's what the council would like, if they'd like to add hours to that position, we maybe, talk to our current recording clerk to see if that's something we should consider, or maybe look into hiring a second one to cover all subcommittees.
Right, because the way it's listed is it's estimated 12 hours of pay period, which basically would be just enough to do the council meetings themselves
Right.
and
Right.
the minutes, and that's it. And so, executive session, that's pretty much it.
So the council would be interested for this individual to attend every single meeting and record all the subcommittee meetings? Is that what I'm understanding?
Not every single meeting,
Yeah.
but I think there'd be the ability to have it, especially for some of these longer meetings.
Yes.
Budget meetings are a perfect example, right? Like Gus is having to take a lot of meeting minutes while also trying to be engaged in the process.
Right.
These long meetings, it would be really helpful to have somebody, at least per diem, to be able to pull on and say, can you help with the meeting minutes so that way I can focus
Sure.
and do my job as a counselor?
I mean, we're none of
It's
us,
something
none of
we've
us
all
are
brought up in
paid.
the past.
Yeah, none of us are
I
paid.
will have that conversation with our current recording clerk. It might be something that's attractive to her, so
Yeah.
let's check in with her.
Or maybe, I was thinking that it might be an idea to leave it at this amount in case we need to have a backup, somebody who, maybe she can't do it, but maybe we could find somebody else who could.
That's per diem, right?
Something
Yeah.
like that.
I'm fine with that.
Absolutely, okay. Thank you.
Can I say something?
But,
I would just recommend we cut $2,500 out of it because we've never used 10,000. We were only using 7,500. So why not just cut it out? That would be my recommendation.
well, that's what we were just talking about. Do we want to increase or to do these minutes
And I'm just
for these
making my- and I'm
subcommittees?
just
Or do we want to
letting
say
my
leave it
opinion
where it
be known.
is? Okay?
I think I'd be interested maybe at the full council meeting if maybe we can get an answer about what the response would be from our current recording clerk about what they would want to do. And maybe if they would want to see, if they would want to take on more per diem positions, because then if that's the case and they start coming to meetings, the extra $2,500 is $2,500 that we could use to help cover some of these meetings. So I say, let's give them some time to come up with answers. I understand your rationale. I'm
Yeah.
kind of along the same line, Councilor Marquetti, but I want to give them the opportunity to at least produce that response.
Can I just say one more thing? Because the meetings are recorded.
Right.
It's very easy just to take them and just do an outline of your meeting. You don't have to be verbatim, so
Oh, yeah.
I think we could save
Yeah,
money there.
yeah.
So, all right, that's all. Thank you.
And that's what we've been doing. Yeah. Okay. Any further comments and questions on this item?
On this whole budget or just that one?
Just that item, number 4.
Oh,
The town
The town
council
council
vote. The town
budget.
council vote.
conference and meetings.
That's for like MMA.
MMA.
Yeah.
They need 30, you need 3,500 for that? I've never gone to a meeting.
Honestly, neither have I. And I've
And
been-
so it's 3,500, but you have to think multiple counselors, multiple fees.
Yeah.
The fees themselves are between like $250, $300.
Yeah.
Route that, and then you also have to think about mileage reimbursement, which comes out of that. You have to think
The
about,
hotel.
The hotels, yeah.
Fair,
and all of it's covered because it's part of our duties as officials.
So
Yeah, I-
3,500 you think is a good number?
Well, it
I think
can
it's
can
kinda
also be
high.
used for training for other purposes
Yeah.
that, not just necessarily that conference.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but if
I
multiple people
often
go,
don't, but,
if
yeah.
multiple people go, like I went this
Yes.
past year, and I only put in for one of the nights because I went an extra night. But yeah, it could get pretty costly. So I
Okay.
think if multiple people go, that's a good amount.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, usually only like 2 or 3 go in any given year, but I think I've seen some of the years where 6 or 7 people went.
Yeah.
It's up to the member, each
It
member's
is.
whims.
It can, and if a bunch of people do it, can add up fast.
And it's
What
also
do you-
very helpful
the
for
question I have
for
is
a
the-
new counselor.
Yeah, it can be.
Sorry.
The question I have is in the dues and subscriptions line, what are we actually using that for, Jerome? Or anybody else, if anybody else answer that
MMA,
question?
yes.
Huh?
So we can belong to MMA?
I'm assuming that's most of it, but is there anything else that's there?
ICMA coming out of that one as well.
I think that's in the town manager's line.
That's, I
Most
think
likely,
that's,
yeah.
that's a
That's
town
not
That's
manager.
not in
Only
this
if
line.
you remember, so it looks like for this year, we've only used a very small amount of that.
The dues and subscriptions line?
We've, for conferences and meetings, we've used over half, and I know that we have some more to follow up on. And then, I'm not actually sure, I don't know if I've entered anything to that line.
For dues and
The
subscriptions.
dues and subscriptions?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know MMA would come out of that, but for why it was set at that budget at some point, I'm not sure what the intention was.
So what is the town's MMA subscription cost?
I would have to pull the invoices.
There's 2 different,
Yeah.
there's 2 different subscriptions.
And is that coming from this line?
For, yes, part of it is, and part of it comes from the town manager's line for their specific subscription.
Mhm.
So there's 2 separate subscriptions. There's the MMAHR, and that
Right.
comes out of my budget, and then
Right.
there's the MMA that comes out of the town manager's budget.
So what I'm trying to
This-
figure out is what this line in the town council budget is used for.
For conferences and meetings or
No,
dues?
no,
No,
for
dues
dues and
and
For
subscriptions.
dues and subs.
Yeah.
I would have to look into Munis and follow up with you to be exact.
Because to be honest, I'm not aware of any particular subscriptions that we use.
No.
Or check with the other council members as well, just in case you use that. I'm not sure if the other town councilors may use that, you know.
I would think we would have to vote on that as a council to do a
You do.
subscription using that. We've never voted, I don't think we've ever voted to use something out of that line that I can recall, and I've been on here 9 years.
there's 9 of us, and there are, the MMA, I believe, has dues that are required, and they're just paid automatically by the executive assistant, because we belong, it allows us to belong and get the mailings and the beacon mailing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we get the membership rate when we apply to go to the MMA conference.
Yeah, I
in
know that, I know
January.
that.
So that's where it's coming from. It's just 2 separate lines to pay, two separate things involving mostly MMA.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, anything else on this item? We do have a first and a second. All in favor?
You're gonna look into that,
Yeah,
salary.
right.
Alright, town manager budget.
Okay, town manager budget in the amount of $299,761.
And it's pretty self-explanatory to me.
Mostly, I mean, one question I have is, under it, it has a salary and wages part-time, just to clarify, what is that? Or what was it? You zeroed it out, but what was it?
The salary range is part-time.
Yeah, the 250,
So
125.
if you remember, we had 3 staff up in
Yeah, I
my
know.
office, myself, Gail, and a third.
Yeah.
I originally had budgeted to keep a third part-time,
Okay.
and Gail would be at 32 hours as it's reflected currently.
Right.
But that is not needed, so we zeroed out that third person.
Okay. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Mike, go ahead.
I'm wondering if we should move that Gail's position to inspections, and I don't know if that's that's not a budget question, but it seems to me somebody who's dealing with licenses should be in the inspections department.
Doesn't she just do liquor licenses then?
Common vic, entertainment, liquor, car dealer.
Those are things that generally run at the town meeting.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They've been there forever.
Okay, but I did look in the charter and the bylaws, and it didn't say anything about that. It's just town manager issues the license, but doesn't say anything about the town manager's office dealing with their, bar owners coming in and doing it. That's just something that I was thinking maybe should go to a different department. But I know it's probably not a budget item. I just thought I'd bring it up. And then other personnel service, tuition, we really haven't even done it. That's for the town manager, I'm going to take it, but we haven't even done a contract yet, so whether we want that and the car allowance.
Okay, well, the car allowances would be, are in the contract, with the manager.
Oh, Charlie? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was.
You have a car allowance, right? Did you?
Yes.
And our standard manager's contract does have one.
Yeah.
I think the tuition, the personal service tuition is also there if the manager wants to use it.
So the town has a tuition, this is actually less than the town's tuition reimbursement policy, which is $4,000. So they're actually losing $1,000 if you put it into their contract.
And then the salary, we haven't negotiated that yet either.
No, we haven't.
So it's like a holding place?
It was an
Placeholder.
estimate that was set in with Karen, Michael, and with Charlie's input when he got here to just kind of set it and let it be there. And,
Right.
it's not set in stone yet, it's set in paper.
Right. Yeah, we don't even have contract, we don't even have impossible candidates yet, so.
Right, yeah, I know that in the search committee,
Yeah.
we've talked about probably that being a higher number, so just keeping that in mind.
Okay. Okay, so I need a motion and a second for this one. And any anybody want to change anything?
I'll move to approve as is.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay. Okay, item number 3 is the accountant's budget in a total of $142,701.93.
So moved.
However, the number that Charlie's sheet says is $152,361.
The 142,701.93 was an updated submission from accounting on 4/6/23. So that, is that accurate, Christine?
Correct, the 142 is the correct number.
No, he emailed it to us.
Oh,
So it's not on this new sheet, okay.
Okay.
So the 142 one is the one we're working with?
142,
142, 701, 93.
I see it, yeah.
Okay, because the version that, the version in our budget book is 152.36.
So what's the difference between the two?
The one he emailed here.
I didn't see the end.
Okay.
On the sixth.
Okay.
I know they removed longevity,
Yeah.
because there's no one in that office.
Yeah, I that's one of the things I caught too.
So they removed
Yeah.
That's probably the difference.
Yeah.
No, there's more than that, because that's only $1,500. Okay, so,
I have reduced the placeholder for the assistant accountant.
okay. To what?
That, I reduced that to a $54,000 even,
Okay, okay.
to be closer in line with the salary for the fiscal year of '24.
Okay. Okay.
And I removed the longevity line item of $1,500.
I saw
because
that,
was a
yeah.
potential placeholder as well. That line item is no longer needed either, so I removed it.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna bring that up because Karen's no longer here, so.
Right, and I didn't know who the staff at the time was gonna be in my office, so I
Sure.
left it as a placeholder.
That's fine, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments or questions on this?
No.
Again,
Good.
conference and meetings, $2,000 seems a little high, don't you think? I mean, it says 2 employees, but there's only really 1 employee.
At the moment, there is, yeah, that's true.
We have hired a replacement for my prior position. The position has been filled. They're
Yes.
just not in my, transitioned into my office yet. So
Oh,
they will
okay.
be attending the same conferences and meetings.
All right. Thank you.
When does
New
this
employees
person
usually
start?
need more training.
Yes, that is correct.
When does this person start?
I'm still working that out with Joanne currently
Okay,
because there is elevated foot traffic in the collector's office at the end of this month and in the first week of May.
right.
But we are looking at a plan for a temporary 1-day, 2-day, once we are able to schedule that. So it's gonna be closer towards the end of the month, but we're taking into consideration the elevated foot traffic in the collector's office for our
Okay.
transition.
And then 200% increase in office supplies?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm looking to create efficiencies in the department, which that comes into replacing filing cabinets in order to create those efficiencies because there were older cabinets in which paperwork needed to be folded in half. But that paperwork was folded in half in one department. It went to a different department, unfolded, reviewed, folded back in half, went to a second department, folded in half, unfolded, come back to our department, unfolded in half, reviewed. It would go to Karen, unfolded, and then come back to me, folded in half so we could file it. So there's a lot of folding and unfolding in the same paperwork, and I'm not looking to have that inefficiencies across the departments anymore.
Yeah.
So we can keep the paper level as it is. It can go across the offices so they can all look at it as they receive it, and then it can get filed appropriately. So I was looking to replace filing cabinets, and due to cost inflations, I was just budgeting it accordingly. But obviously, I will look for the best prices, and if there aren't any surpluses available across the building, I will need to purchase brand new, unfortunately.
Okay, I
What
know you
happened to
mentioned that. one,
paperless
yeah.
society?
It's a little bit tougher on that, and you have to make corrections
Yeah.
and do so with the reviews. But I'm looking specifically at taking efficiencies across our payroll reviews.
And that's good, and I imagine a lot of those things need to be kept on paper versions anyway, don't they, for public record laws? In
I
many
believe
cases?
so. I
Yeah,
will look further into that, but I believe so,
that wouldn't
yes.
surprise me if I thought. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? I still need a motion this up.
Oh, no, I reopened it with one
Oh,
and
we
I
did.
seconded.
Yeah.
Somebody seconded. Yeah, Martina did. I usually open them up with a motion and a second.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay.
The 142.
Yeah, the 142. Oh, okay, so one after another. Okay, let's see here. We are on the assessor's budget for 256,902, which according to, let's double check that line right in here. The assessor's budget that I have listed in this document is 211,902.
Yes, because he got rid of the position that was going to be full-time, right?
Well, what I'm.
45,001, the trash billing.
What I said, what I'm recommending is that we have, no new employees added, to this budget. So that was the premise, I'm trying to get down to a number that was manageable for this year's budget.
Okay, because I know that this particular budget mentions here having a new full-time support staff person for the trash bill. And that's one of the issues that we're looking at, about where are we gonna put this person, whether it would be in
Right.
Rachel's office, whether it would be in the collector's office,
I-
whether it would be in your office,
But-
or, I don't know, or its own
Right.
office.
If I could on that, I think it's hard to imagine that we need one full-time person for a flat rate, tax, bill for trash. I mean,
Still in my office, we do.
well, no, but it may not be. I mean, that's the whole thing. It really shouldn't.
And that's the whole reason I asked to have this on here was because everything's still so up in the air with the trash.
It
We
is.
don't know yet what we're doing. We don't know yet. So I said, like, I want to be on the safe side and know that for setting up the accounts for this coming year, that we have staff.
Right.
The only other option is if it gets cut, I'm gonna need to lock my doors to the public for periods of time on days to get work done. That's gonna be the only other option. If it's not out of my office
Okay.
before trash billing comes.
You're right. Not so much trash. I mean, trash really shouldn't be a difficult thing to bill. I mean, you're gonna bill quarterly and it's a flat rate. And so you're gonna have a certain number of houses or, properties, and they get billed each month. There may be some adjustments. The other thing that we really need to look into, and I know it's been, an issue for a while, is, one of your clerical people really is
Water and
only
sewer.
the water and sewer
Yeah.
billing.
Right.
And again, I'm not sure why that is. In other words, that's an awful lot of work, for a quarterly water and sewer bill. And so we need to look into that as well. And the other part of it is, it really shouldn't be in the assessor's office. I mean, the assessor's office shouldn't be doing billing. So I
Right.
understand this is something that carries over when Will was here and everything, and yes, it is. But we're gonna get a new treasurer. We need to look at these things. Originally, we had hoped to maybe even add, to move the payroll, person over to HR to get some of the clarity. But the cost of that, was too much adding to it, so that was one of the things I eliminated. And the reason it doesn't show up is highlighted on this is we had already taken it out, where these other ones I had recommended after those budgets were submitted.
Right.
So I understand Rachel's concern, and we will try to deal with that, because it isn't fair to say she has two clerks with the work she has, when one has to be dedicated totally to the water and sewer bill.
Right.
And so while I'm still here after this budget is over, that's something we'll really try to address and deal with.
Okay, that's good. That's good enough. Okay, because I know earlier today, coincidentally, I was talking to Matt over in the collector's office, and he was saying that he definitely feels that the billing for this should be in its own office.
Should be what?
That it should be in its own office. Not in either his office or yours. That it should be independent somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's something you can certainly look at. We know for sure it should be in the assessor's office.
Mhm.
When we have a separate building department, maybe that's what's needed. But generally, it is the, collector, the treasurer's office.
It usually is, yeah, that's true.
Or DPW.
Right.
Well, exactly. I mean,
Right,
yeah.
that's another good point on
Looks-
the water. and
That's
sewer.
where 90% of her communication is with
We need
DPW.
to-
Which makes sense.
With Steve Gregoire and,
Right.
yeah, not me. I can't help with anything. It's
No.
kind of like one of those things you oversee, but you can't do.
Right.
Sure. And the catch-22, of course, is that DPW is fairly understaffed, so we would need to add somebody to them to do this. We have to add somebody somewhere
This is the water
to do
department.
this
It's
anyway.
not really the DPW, this is the water department.
Yeah, well, I'm referring to the trash bill. I mean, they're doing water and sewer already in our.
No. In other words, what's happening is the water department and the sewer department are doing all, the meter reading and so forth,
Yeah, I know.
getting it into this office. That has to be put in
No,
the
I get
bill
that,
and
I get that,
adjusted.
yeah.
Okay. The question is, why is it in such a format that it takes a full-time person here to
Right.
work on that as the whole job? I
Right.
mean, maybe there's a really good reason, but it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time to put into just putting out quarterly water and sewer bills.
Totally. Oh, I totally agree with that, yeah. If we can find some efficiency in that, and maybe have this person do something else too, that'd be cool. Yes. Okay. So we have a motion and a second?
Yeah, 'cause she's got to.
Yeah, I have my hand up.
Okay, good.
So I'm happy to hear that. I understand the need in the assessor's office. However, this was one of the first things I highlighted was something we just can't afford. Not at this moment. There's still too many variables about what we're going to do with trash, how it's going to be handled. And to make this level of an investment when we still don't know what even the final option that the council is gonna recommend for public consideration is.
Right, that's true.
So it's a little cart before the horse.
Well, it is, it's just timing wise, it was like, put it out and then take it off last minute. There's just so many undecided variables that it was tough, I was like.
Oh, and I
Trying
understand
to
your
prepare
position.
for the
You gotta
future.
do what you gotta
Oh,
do
sure.
for your
And just so you
department.
know too, that, in my reval account, I normally get 35,000 every single year, and this year I'm not asking for anything, so.
So I understand, we can't afford the position right now. And I'd rather find ways to create efficiencies within the town hall staff and the system we have currently than shop for another person when we don't even know exactly what their duties or really responsibilities are gonna be, or how big is this gonna be, so.
Okay. Go ahead.
Another comment, and I think you're exactly right on that, is that it would still only be 1 quarter of next fiscal year anyway.
I was just thinking that,
Yeah.
That's another issue, so
Yeah.
put it in for the whole year and you plan on hiring somebody now, it just doesn't really.
That actually came up last night too, when we were talking about the health department budget, because we're gonna have to do something about the last quarter of this coming fiscal year for some of the salaries in that department, because we're gonna be losing the contract. I quickly calculated it, it's for Dan's salary, Maritza, and Anna, and the other guy's name, who I'm drawing a blank on. Hector's salary. All of them are drawing from Casella money, and that'll all be gone at the end of the quarter. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do with that. Whether we keep, obviously we have to keep at least some of them. Some of them have to stay. So we have to figure out where that money's coming from, how we're going to fund those elements of the salary, if we're going to do that.
Can we just stick to this?
Yeah, I was about
I
to
just wanted to
say,
bring that up because that's something we need
We
to
have a lot of
do.
budgets to get through.
Yeah.
Another,
Okay.
Ms. Shea has something.
Go ahead.
No, I was the quarter also. Everybody on the said, when it's only budget for a quarter of the year.
Okay, yeah,
So
sure,
can
that makes
I
sense.
ask something or say something?
Go ahead,
please?
absolutely.
I have to agree with you, Councilor Ryan. I think you should make a motion to amend it to take it out before you send it up to the council. The other thing I was going to point out that is, if we do have this position, if the council votes for an enterprise fund, the money would come out of the enterprise fund. It would not come out of her budget.
Well, the new
That is true.
recommendation from the town manager is the lower amount, so we would just recommend the town manager's recommendation, which is, gets rid of this position.
Okay, so you
Right.
don't feel you need to make.
We don't need to amend it, because now the manager's already amended his document, he's recommended to council.
The other question I have, salaries elected and salaries appointed, are those the members of the assessors committee there, or? I don't understand those.
We have a board of 2 elected members.
And this is a stipend
Yeah,
they get? Okay.
that's a stick.
So elected and appointed? Okay.
Unappointed.
Oh, all right.
And they're all legally required, I believe, to get paid too as
They are.
assessors.
Yeah.
And specialized services?
I thought that was the reval line, wasn't it?
Usually,
No, reval says reval specialty.
Usually
I
what they do-
believe.
There is no
they
reval
have a little
line.
bit of a
Reval is in
couple
special articles.
sentences
No,
after
reval
you're right.
is
what
a
it is.
different account. I wasn't asking.
That
for
should be
any
in
increase
here.
in that.
It should, yeah. Most of the departments put a little verbiage underneath, telling you
No,
what
it's
it's
not.
for.
It's 35. Usually they're
No, just-
Huh?
So on the
I'm sure there's a
budget,
good explanation. I really like the numbers, right?
Oh, it is a good thing. I wonder if it is.
Well, the revision I have is not, it's on here. No, it's not in the revision, it's the revised budget.
It's in the reval line.
You know what I
Well,
It's
we
in
have
there.
in the revised budget that that's the
No, it's not in assessing, it's in special
It's in
articles.
special articles, oh, okay.
So that's-
Because when I went in this tonight and I looked, it was not in there.
No, it's in special article.
Okay, so I wasn't gonna ask for funds in that this year.
Oh.
I was gonna cut that, I felt that I had enough in the account.
Oh,
well,
okay.
well, that's
good enough.
wonderful.
That's good enough.
Cut out
Let's
the special
focus on the,
article bit.
because it's not in this agenda item, right?
Right.
It's under a specialized, so that's under
Yes.
other.
It's
It
So,
is.
This agenda is not in this item.
Yes.
But it's good. Glad you're bringing it up, because I wasn't aware of that.
Right.
yeah, yes.
It is on documents.
Yeah.
It
But
is.
not as updated. one.
Yeah, no, it's
Yes.
updated.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so the agenda item says 256,902. We're now talking 211,902
I'll move to accept, make that recommendation as presented by the manager.
at 211,902.
Yes.
Second.
Specialty services, my CAMA and my mapping.
Okay.
The 211,902 that's not eliminating the specialized services. That's just eliminating the 45,000.
No, because it's already.
Specialized services is what she said, it's the mapping.
And my
Oh.
CAMA.
It's not the,
No, it's in the,
My bad,
Yeah.
sorry.
it's in the 92,100 of the
Yes.
special ed. That's
Yeah.
what we have.
Thank you.
right. It is eliminating the $45,000 support staff.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
A
Okay.
little bit more reasonable, right? 4.4% instead of 26.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any last comments? All those in favor? Okay. Treasurer collector budget in the amount of $374,954.
So moved.
Second.
Oh wait, is that the one that's town accountant?
This is the treasurer
Oh, treasurer
collector.
clerk, excuse me.
It is
374.
$954. Is that one? Yeah.
Yep, so they're the same. Okay, cool.
So we have a motion from me and a
And
second.
a second from Martina.
Oh, where does it stand on hiring a new treasurer collector?
She starts on next Thursday.
Okay, cool.
She was actually in the office today getting, filling out the paperwork to get bonded, so.
Okay, cool.
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
When you hired her, I asked at the town council meeting her salary, and you said 93,460, but in here it says 95. So I just was wondering why the difference?
It probably was a placeholder.
It was probably a
created by the budget.
rough number before
Yeah.
they changed.
Okay? So it's gonna be deducted?
That very good. It is.
She's starting in April before.
That would be
the fiscal year, so she needs to get
1540.
set, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, when this was presented,
So she gets a step halfway through, that's why.
that could be,
Is that what that's for?
Yeah, because that's why it's above, like, if I grand or change, it's because they were just saying hey, she gets a step increase.
So she
midway
gets a
through the year.
step increase before her anniversary date?
Her anniversary will be within that next fiscal year, so it's.
Yes.
And the way the current budget, if I may, the current
It's
budget
only
is,
1 month.
we need to remove Christian from there because he's currently in step 5 and whoever we're hiring will be coming in at a step 1. So that will lower
Okay.
that salary.
All right.
So Christian is leaving.
Well, Christian's now gonna be the assistant, town accountant.
yeah.
Oh,
But I mean,
okay.
So he's been.
there's always a possibility that you could hire somebody with more experience, right? You don't have to bring somebody in.
At a step 1, right, you can still have a range, but I mean, it's very unlikely that we start someone off that high. Not impossible, but, you know, if you wanna.
Okay.
And then the only question I had, could you go a little bit into the tax title advertisement increase? You increasing the budget by 100% by that line item, because
Yep.
$2,500 increase due to advertising costs?
I think Joanne put this budget together, right, Joanne Savnay, so I think it was her recommendation.
Is there a rationale as to why? What was there?
Well, we haven't done any.
It's my understanding that she was saying that there hadn't been much work toward taking people to tax title and that sort of thing, and that she was planning on increasing the work being done out of the office in the near future.
With the new collector treasurer, hope, she'll have time hopefully to get, at some point during the fiscal year, involved in the tax title to do so. There's really nothing that's been done in that for quite a while.
I can see why it's been kind of chaotic. I can understand why that was.
Right. But I think that was, as John says, that's the reason.
Okay.
That was it. That was my only question.
Okay.
Conference and meetings are pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's pretty low actually. Okay, any other comments or questions, Nelson? All those in favor?
I keep forgetting Councilor Marquette's not on the subject. Why is he not raising his hand for anything?
Right.
Go back over there and sit if you'd like.
Okay, the town attorney line item of 117.5. Although the budget I have here says, well, it says the current actual is only 39 grand, which is great. However, why is the projection for this year 117,560? Where does that come from?
Specialized services got an extra $60
That's a
more.
weird number.
Like why? Is that a typo maybe?
I don't know.
It Where do you see
That's
this?
just
I-
projected.
I-
Under
It's
special,
in the, we're in
oh,
the,
projected actual, yeah.
yeah. The projected actual is 117,560 instead of 115
Oh,
or
that was for this
175.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why?
Maybe it's a typo, I don't know. I don't know who prepared the projection.
On what sheet are we looking
We're looking
It's
at
the
the town.
Town account, town
So we
attorney.
have
In munis?
actual,
Yeah.
yes, munis.
Projected actual under specialized services.
Blame it on the computer.
Yeah, the revised budget was for 2023 was 117,500.
Yeah.
The actual, I guess, year to date is 39,260, and then the projection, so I don't know.
Yeah, so how much, we've only spent like, what, 30-something grand out of out of that one?
That's nice. Considering all the
Do you
money we used to
expect us to
spend
have
on
$115,000 worth of legal
Yeah, I mean,
need?
we're using quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, we're entering into that account all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's already, will be coming out of that right now that's entered into Munis, so.
I got the eight case.
Go ahead. Right here.
Our last town manager was an attorney, and you were using some of his services.
That is true, yes.
So you might be lucky again, and you might not be.
That's a good point.
I just want to bring up, we also don't know if there's going to be any litigation costs due to our airport contractor that did the work.
I
So
didn't know there was potential litigation from that.
Yeah.
There was concerns about cost of
Should this
supply-
be in public session?
There was concerns about cost of supplies.
Oh,
And so
okay.
therefore, there was discussions that was going on back and forth, so there might be increased costs to our lawyer consulting that we would need to fund because the airport might run out of their budget for that, so therefore the town would have to pick up the difference. So therefore,
Oh.
that budget would need to stay in place just in case.
Oh, okay. That sounds like something we want to talk about in executive session.
But I think this is.
I don't know anything about this, so.
Besides without the activity. we
Yeah,
Right. I have no other questions.
okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay, who made the motion?
I made the motion when I opened it and Martina seconded it. It's been pretty consistent, me and Martina.
Well, sometimes it's been you and her, so.
It's true, it's true, you're right.
I'll drop out.
Her is Councilor Rivas. Thank you.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, he said her, not you.
I said, sometimes it's you and sometimes here, so. Okay, anyway, let's see, we are on the, human resources budget in the amount of 177,099.
So, and then the,
And is that here, yep, okay.
so 177,999. So that's a change from the original budget which was 206. So what was the change in cuts from that one?
So we removed the payroll specialist position, and then we only recommended to our current salaries to be the 2% COLA instead of the, when I thought we were gonna take over payroll, we realigned the duties and responsibilities. So I adjusted the salaries, I did a compensation survey to align us with our market peers, but since that's not gonna be happening, I just adjusted it to the 2% COLA.
Okay, so all the step 2, A9, step 3, all that is gone.
It's all gone.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and I was curious about the recruitment line. It mentions closed out. Can
Yes.
you explain what that means?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So last year, when we realized it after the budget was approved, there was another like a personnel line in another account for, I think last year we spent $12,000 out of that account. That should have been consolidated with my original budget last year, but we didn't catch it until after the budget was approved. So all I did is close out that account and move the funds to just one, so there's only one account now, not two.
Okay. And so then I.
So that's why it looks like there's a 2,400% increase, when in fact there's not. I just moved money from another personnel account for recruitment.
Okay.
And that covers physicals, it covers our job ads, it covers everything for onboarding, for recruitment and onboarding.
Okay. Because I know the physicals themselves.
So
are a
maybe
couple
you can
$1,000s
change
each.
the label on that recruitment and onboarding.
We could,
That way it's even more descriptive, because recruitment is just getting them in the door, onboarding is helping them get situated,
Right.
right? So maybe
Right.
that would be a more apt description to help
Okay.
make it a little clearer.
right, because all the pre-employment physicals are there
Yeah.
and everything else, so
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's definitely.
this year, we're at, I think, 12,000, and we're looking to, we've had so much turnover, and we've had new positions that we're looking to transfer funds, to request to transfer funds, because we just don't have enough money to cover these bills that are coming in from ComfortCare for pre-employment physicals, so there's a lot of activity.
Oh, okay. Does this cover the physicals for like the fire and police department as well?
So, yes, yes and no.
Okay.
What we did in the middle of this fiscal year is ask the fire chief to open up his own recruitment budget, onboarding budget,
Okay.
because his physicals are like almost $2,000 each. It's
Yeah.
an obscene amount of money. And now we're trying to work with the police chief as well. I know Christine can speak to this, to do the same thing, because it's just so much money.
Sure. That's what I thought.
They require extra exams
Right.
than just a normal personnel. So
Sure.
our public safety,
Right.
and even with even the DPW individuals, they cost more money because it's a more involved physical. So
Right.
we have to pay more.
So would it make more sense to have one single line item in the town for recruitment and onboarding? Maybe this is a question for you to Charlie, or whoever can answer it. Because I'm just thinking, instead of having it bounce in multiple major departments.
So, I'm sorry, Charlie.
No, you're talking on the,
If I can answer.
Yeah, sure.
Please.
It's okay. I think it makes more sense to have one recruitment budget, because what I'm currently doing is I'm going through every bill and splitting the bill. So I'm going through every line item, oh, this was fires, this was, and honestly, it's very inefficient, where I can just submit the bill into my own, the one recruitment budget, and I don't have to, it's inefficient for me, it's inefficient for Stacy, so now I'm involving other people, taking their time that they can be working on other tasks, rather than me just submitting the bill and the purchase order and the invoice. So yes, I think for efficiency purposes, it would make sense to have just a big, a bigger budget for every one of the
I would also argue, I think it makes it much more flexible for them too, not just, because
True.
now you're not stuck with recruitment only in DPW.
Right.
Like, what if we need more seasonal workers in recreation, we're not getting the workers we need for some
Right.
reason, we can do some recruitment and
Right.
advertising.
Absolutely.
So having a more centralized recruitment budget with the personnel that actually know how to do recruitment really well,
Right.
which HR personnel usually do know how to do recruitment very well,
That would make
that makes a
sense.
lot more sense, and it would be much more efficient for the town. We get a
I
lot more
agree.
bang for our
That makes
buck.
a lot more sense. Because I know we have had to, I think we've had to give extra money to at least police and fire for recruitment over the last year, several years actually.
Is that
And-
and they go for psych evals
I know.
too, so it costs so much to onboard police and fire, so every time we lose one, we're losing not only the institutional knowledge, but now we're losing training time,
True.
we're investing academy training,
Yes.
and we're paying for additional, physicals, and
Right.
it becomes very expensive for a town.
It does.
That's why you wanna keep your people.
So how much-
It's
so-
very costly.
Or make
So
them pay.
overall, how much do we actually pay for recruitment and onboarding across the town in the
So-
last year?
What I've seen in the budget, because I've been in the position for a year and a half,
Yeah.
so I can't speak to this,
Sure.
what I've seen for
Right.
the past two budget cycles, it's up to $15,000 is what I've seen so far. But I don't know if
I'd have to pull
you would have to pull, yeah,
I'd
because I
have to pull
don't
historical
know.
data, but it was upwards of, I wanna say 17 to 19
So,
last year.
so
And this
higher
year
than
is
even
already-
what's in Eunice.
And this year's already certainly surpassed last year's complete budget.
So it's a big expense.
Yeah.
And we can plan ahead, see, retirements, but you can't plan on, people resigning, right? So
Right.
those are unexpected costs.
Sure,
So it's
sure.
always good to have a little buffer. I mean, obviously, if you have a surplus, you can always put it back into the, into the budget, the
Right.
operating account, but I think it'd be wise if we just have a central, budget where we're recruiting, we can upload
Right.
and we can take care of all the bills. And then this way, you don't have all these people involved on completing one task.
Right, I totally agree with that.
Just-
So are you saying that this 15 grand would be enough to cover all of those
No,
departments?
if we
It
would
will
do it
not.
your way, last year was 19,000.
I
So
was
that was
it was between 17 and 19, and we needed to do a budget transfer to cover the rest of the fiscal year.
That's
last
what I
year.
thought, yeah.
And we're already starting to surpass last year's total budget right now.
And this is March.
Right,
We need a
April.
budget
right,
transfer,
exactly.
And we right now need a budget transfer to
After
finish
people sitting, I
covering.
haven't been able to pay
So, where's the recruitment in the fire budget?
Yeah, I can't find one.
It's,
For police and fire.
That's a good question.
So you should say if you save $20,000, just based on historical trends.
So where does it come out of in the fire department?
Just started this.
So we need to see what that is. Like a 10 grand buffer.
Could we see what it would look like?
Yeah, I
if-
think we should.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm curious to see what it would look like all together.
Yeah, that's what I was
And
asking.
see what, our
So,
cost savings
and
would
do
be.
you know where it is in the fire department budget?
I don't know what that, it was a special account that he opened with Karen last, like mid this year, and with, so I don't know what she, did she label it fire? Is that-
No, there's
Special account.
no recruitment blatantly obvious there.
No history.
Let me text the chief.
I mean, the same thing with the police, I don't see any.
Yeah, they don't have a recruiting line.
Yeah, I don't either.
So,
I mean, could that fall under special,
Are you saying
under
that
special
this-
services line? Maybe?
Oh, actually.
This medical inspection is, when you hire a new fireman and new policeman.
Yeah, we have to go
Yeah.
through,
But I understand they do that, but I mean, so it's not an annual medical inspection.
no, but some firefighters need special vaccines that we pay for, it's in their contract. So you'll have, after you onboard a firefighter, you'll see that there's several other, charges for vaccines, so they have to like, so if you get hepatitis, the hepatitis
Right.
shot,
Yeah.
they
It'd
go
be
several
good to
months
have that in
later,
their
see that
budget,
as
so we
well.
know what the total cost of the firefighter, right?
Well,
They should.
we also have a special line that we've approved for the council for firefighter, for the fire department to send, up to 5 people every year for, cancer screening.
That I see in.
I don't remember where that, I
budget.
don't
That's
remember exactly where that
something
is,
different,
but.
I see
right?
that.
Yeah,
That's different than
It
recruitment
is,
and
yeah, that's
onboarding.
completely different, I just wanna
So-
mention
So
that.
I guess
Yeah.
before we pull it out, we gotta know that it really is in those other things.
Yeah, because I knew that I know the fire chief came before PPP. I think we just voted on the new recruits going for
Right.
physicals, I recall.
So there's 5 that it was about $5,000 or over
Yeah.
$5,000. I have the email that I split the bill.
Right.
And he had over $5,000 in charges just on those recruits.
Yeah,
That's
And
great,
there's
but
more.
yeah, I remember
But the point is,
The police mentioned too, are they
Yeah.
paying for it
he
right
hasn't
now?
put it in the budget.
Yeah.
So,
So,
from what account, Christine,
I
do you
can
know
tell you.
from what line the police and fire are paying for those services?
Police doesn't have this.
Police doesn't have one. I am currently,
Oh, you're-
but fire does, so fire,
fire
so
does.
where's fire?
so I'll give you that in one moment because he did give us the account number.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it does make sense to put it in one place. And it logically makes sense to be in HR.
Is this-
Although,
Is that something that we could get done for the next fiscal cycle?
we may have to, yeah,
Because I mean,
straighten it
the
out. I
budget's
mean, I don't see why, I don't know how hard it would be to straighten it out from a budget point of view, just to, shift things around a little bit, I don't know.
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, part of it is, what impact it has on the total budget.
Sure.
And another-
The way he's been funding it is, under the direction of Karen and Town Manager McCaw, I completed the interdepartmental transfer for salaries, 5110 to establish a new account within my fire budget. And I thought he gave us the actual number.
Well, did he do this after the budget was submitted? I'm not sure.
No.
I don't know.
Yes, last year, yes, after the budget.
No, this year's budget, so we have the
Oh,
match,
no.
we have this year's proposed,
Because it's not in-
budget from the chief, but there's nothing in there.
So I don't know what he labeled the.
I mean,
account.
generally, I don't know how many firefighters, I know this, last year we hired 4, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, generally, you don't get that many. I mean, if we're talking 2,000 even for a medical exam, I mean, it is a $3 million budget. I mean, it's not like,
Well, I think they've been basically using extra stuff within both of their budgets to cover those things, and we have had to transfer some to do it. And I don't think it's been a major issue per se. I think we're just trying to figure out whether it would make more sense to have it in one location so that we're all kind
I mean,
of on the same page.
the fact that you might have, 2 or 3 police during the year and a couple of firemen during the year
Yeah.
versus everything else, doesn't seem to me that we ought to set it up in HR. But I mean, again, maybe it is something we ought to look at for next fiscal year.
Maybe. Just see, it would be easier, more efficient, I don't know.
I appreciate the answers on the.
Yeah, me too. Cool. Okay, anyway,
I was gonna say something, she was gonna
go ahead,
say-
sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was gonna actually ask that this be trimmed a little bit, because I know last year was a very difficult year, we had a lot of people leave. But I don't think that's gonna continue year after year after
Hope so.
year. And I think we wanna discourage any new hiring this year anyway.
Right, but there's only been a few new hires in terms of new positions. This is just for people that have resigned. We've been filling positions for people.
Been a very
We have
unusual year.
some retirements.
Yeah.
And the trend has been not just last year, that's why I asked you, that's why I don't focus on 1 year. You gotta focus on the trend. You're always trending towards $17,000 to $19,000 a year. So I'd rather have that amount there than have to ask for more. It's a lot easier to put back into the budget than ask for more, because we're gonna have to go do request transfers in front of the council soon,
Right.
because we just don't have money in the budget. It's happening to us this year.
And then
And
the other
recruit-
thing
And
I
there's
was
some
gonna-
retirements that are coming up,
And
planned.
the other thing I was gonna bring up is the $5,000 miscellaneous expenses. I know that's for you to buy candy and stuff like that,
No, I don't buy candy.
pizza or whatever it is.
I wish, because the candy comes out of my pocket, but not the town.
Whatever
What
you're
we
using
did with
it
that
for.
is we do an employee appreciation, we did the picnic. We have an employee appreciation breakfast that I'm gonna conduct in May, the first week of May. I haven't announced it yet, but I already coordinated it with a little bit, with the $1,000 that we have left out of that budget. We're doing an employee appreciation breakfast. That's just for employee, you want for retention, for, employee morale, that's what really those funds are used for. And also for appreciation. We wanna make sure that our employees feel appreciated at least on some level.
Well, I appreciate the employees very much, and that's why I haven't recommended any cuts in your wages or anything like that. I think employees are getting paid very well, and I don't think we need to be having parties for the employees. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
On the recruitment thing, I understand your line of thought on that, Counselor, but the cost of recruitment is going up because it's getting harder to find qualified candidates because the applicant pools are getting smaller, especially for municipal work.
Yeah.
So you're seeing increased costs just because you have to do more advertising, you have to do more outreach, just to reach the people you need to reach to get qualified people in the seats to even interview. So and with increasing medical costs I'm fine with leaving it as it is. Honestly, I was sitting there when she was describing the amount of people they were onboarding, I was like, actually, that's on the low end.
It is on the low, I was conservative with it.
Yeah.
I was just trying to mirror what we've done. I actually went lower than what we've spent in prior years.
Okay, but I wanna stop hiring this year, that's what I wanna do. You wouldn't need any recruitment if you stopped hiring.
You don't lose any people.
But if you don't lose
And
any,
then that
if you
covers
lose people, you
our
still need to
winter
replace people.
positions, our summer positions, our
Sure.
costs and kits.
Yeah.
We pay for all that. It's not only
Don't
just our
replace them.
permanent positions. Those
Right.
people all have to go, our traffic constables, they all have to go for physicals. They're very, cost a lot of money, unfortunately. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it does.
Yeah, I do think it's a conservative amount, just knowing the environment.
Yeah.
But I also want to say something about the miscellaneous. I think that is a small amount in order to retain and keep the staff that we do
Yeah.
have, and not lose people. We have given, staff, bonuses through ARPA, but again, looking at towns around us and the salaries around us, we want to make sure that our staff knows that they're appreciated. And I don't think that's a huge amount to put into sort of staff appreciation events. It's for the whole year, so.
Yeah.
I think it really shows goodwill, on the part of the town. I know, like you said, we can't afford all these expensive things, but at least there's, they know that we're trying to do something and that we see them to appreciate the efforts and, coming in and out of work every day and providing our citizens with great customer service and, being loyal to the town.
And I do appreciate the town manager and making cuts in new positions and really being thoughtful about making cuts and trying to, be cost effective. So I do appreciate all of the departments really looking and kind of like going through their budgets and being conscientious about that.
That makes me think of something. Would HR be the department in charge of more general training issues in the department,
Yes.
in town hall?
Yes.
Where is that in this budget?
So that's a good question. There's an education and training budget, and the personnel, and
Personnel.
we actually calculate, training and, our, education reimbursement, tuition reimbursement, so I think it's $12,000.
Tuition is in personnel, it's
Personnel,
12,000.
12,000.
I think education, I did it.
Yeah. I think we have to be a little careful about that though, because I mean, a lot of the larger, training, budgets are really in the police and the fire.
Yeah, I
and they
think-
have to be
sure.
within that. I mean, those are
Okay,
mandated
I understand
training.
that, yeah.
So what Adrian is talking about is really like general training.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I meant,
Not
yeah.
mandated. So there is a component, but a much larger component
That
comes
use of
for
tuition and
what's required.
education.
That's it.
No, that's what I meant, the more general
They
stuff.
can just
yeah.
say it.
Okay.
So, like I said, it was $12,000 for tuition and education. I kept it very conservative as well, because I know this year, we have some budget constraints and keeping it on the lower level. And that'll give us the ability to send new staff out for training, like new managers, like, for example, Christine, and people that are filling these new positions, that this is their first time, in a management role. We want that professional development. I think that was actually part of the discussions that we had when they were getting appointed, is that we would provide that training and our commitment to their professional development, because so they serve the town better.
That makes sense,
Yes.
totally. I was thinking that, exactly.
Would that include sort of like training on customer service, training on DEIA, things like
So
that?
it depends on the need, right?
Right.
Every department's specific. We would really look at the gap, the skill gap, and where they need that training. DEI is something different. I am joining the MMA affinity group. It's gonna be a new created group, and it's diversity and inclusion. More to follow on that. It's at an infancy stage, but I will see, I'm going to try to bring some programs into Southbridge, with the council support and the town manager support, when the program rolls out,
Mm-hmm.
because it's gonna be part of the MMA.
Okay.
I mean, again, on that, I know what Adrian is talking about as far as, training for new staff and so forth, but in the case of the accountant, I mean, a lot of that will be through the collector, treasurer and accounting association.
Sure,
So,
right.
again, there should be a component in the budget, hopefully there is.
Yeah, there
for
is.
that,
Yes,
because,
yes.
Yeah, I meant more I was referring to more general stuff that
Sure,
kind of apply
that's
to everybody.
important, I
Yeah.
think, to have that in general.
And this is really great discussion, but we're getting lost in
Right.
other budgets. We really need to focus on the one budget that's in
These are-
front of us, which is human resources.
Ironically, these are also budgets that we deal with too. We're coming
Yes,
back.
which we'll have plenty of discussion later, I'm sure.
Okay, anyway. So are there any other questions on this human resources budget?
No.
Do we have a motion?
Motion. Okay, I guess I'll motion again.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Let's see.
Money! Okay, town clerk?
Okay, town clerk budget of 212,462.
I'll move to approve that, as recommended.
Second?
Second.
That's still true. Anything you want to say about that, Maddie?
Nope, they're pretty much cut and dry. Everything's pretty much the same.
Yeah. I was curious, actually, the line item kind of jumped out at me is one of the smaller ones. The book, the binding line.
Yes.
That always seems to get delayed.
Guess what?
That seems like it always gets delayed.
It's,
Delayed, doesn't it?
no, that's the street list. That's not book and bindings. That's the street list.
The book and bindings for the restoration of
totally different.
documents,
That's for the
right?
vitals.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't get delayed.
Okay.
Yeah, the bindings for the restoring of all documents and,
Right, and like all our vitals, we bind them permanently after so many years.
Okay. Any comments or questions on this one? All those in favor?
throws me off every time I look up at you and you're just,
The election budget of 89,206.
so moved to approve as recommended.
Second.
That's the same thing. Okay. Anything,
elections, so
Yep.
less money.
anything unusual on this one, Maddie?
Excuse me?
Anything that you want to comment on this one, the elections budget?
Nope, this is just for the elections that we have coming up next year will be, this line item will be more because we'll have more elections, but this is what this is for this fiscal year.
Right. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to Maddie. For the repair and maintenance and all, with the new machines, increased cost for,
The maintenance, the first year of maintenance is all included in the new machines coming in, which are coming in on Tuesday, by the way.
That's good.
Okay.
thank you.
Speaking of that, have you set up the discussion with Charlie about,
No, because they're not here yet.
Okay.
Machines aren't here yet. I haven't been trained on them yet, so just gonna wait, yeah.
More training budget.
Yeah, it's included.
it is good. They're better at the cost that they were. They're better. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, cable budget in total amount of $213,370.80. That's the same thing I have in
That's
here.
economic development, because they're not in order.
Where's the cable one?
Cable, okay.
It's not in order. It's
The cable is not in this chart here.
No, cable is a separate line item on our overall budget item because it's offset by what we get from.
Yeah, I know it is.
So,
but it's
and
not.
Jim's not here to talk about any of the changes, so, I mean, it's pretty simple stuff, right?
Charlie.
Charlie, it would be Charlie.
Charlie.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He's in it now?
Yep. He's in.
So,
Yeah. I think I just rearranged them and put them back in order.
Yeah.
yeah, I have no questions on that cable budget.
Good.
This one has always mystified me because it's in our budget, but it's coming out of cable money.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but if you look, there's a revenue thing at the top that offsets, so they offset each other.
So like we approve the expenditure and then we get reimbursed by charter.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's still a town expenditure.
And what legals, there's a legal expense in there? What legal expense
The
do we have?
legal 5,000. Does that have anything to do with the charter, the negotiation of the charter contract, or?
Yeah.
Or is that something completely unrelated?
It could be, we do have an attorney that's negotiating.
Where
I
does that
suppose they have to do
stand anyway?
copyrights
We're
and
almost
stuff.
there, I believe.
Are we?
I got a message from the attorney just the other day saying that.
We do have an attorney for charter.
Okay, I knew we did, but.
And that would come out of the cable bill
We
too,
have
reimbursement?
what he feels is a very favorable, very fair agreement, and
Oh, really?
hoping to have it resolved.
That would be nice, because they've been playing games with us for a long time.
In the meantime, even without a contract.
Yeah, because they need
still
to have
make
a lawyer to maintain the contract with, because we have a contract with charter, so they have their lawyer, we have our lawyer.
Right,
So it's all covered.
okay, motion?
Thank you.
Oh, I'll move to approve as recommended.
Second.
I had a question on the administrative assistant. I know that, is that
That's Lynn?
been filled now that Lynn's gone? The administrative assssistant?
The
Cable
cable.
administrative assistant?
So,
It was
so
one
we
line.
actually have a couple of interviews. We've had several, actually two, job offers, and they declined because they wanted more hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we advertise the position with hours, the hours that, they would be working, and they still come in and go through the whole, interview process, which is wonderful, but then they tell us, well, I'm really looking for more hours.
Then why did
Okay,
you do this when it
sorry.
specifically states this?
Right.
Yeah.
And I was confused. Are there two administrative assistant positions?
No.
No, only one.
Just one.
Only one.
Well, no, in this case, why would it be split between step 1 and step 2 then? Because,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
if somebody,
confused by
granted,
that.
if this person comes in now, they'll probably end up on a step raise in the middle of next year, or
So-
toward the end of next year, but,
I think that was the logic was that they would be hired before the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
So it would get, be budgeted in that step, just in case, they would be hired before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So they would have a step increase.
Okay. Thank
what do you think the chances of that actually happening are?
Well, we have another interview, and we hope that there's a good chance. I mean, we're hopeful. We don't know, but I mean, July. There's several months, so I would hope that we would
Okay. So just to clarify then, if Charlie is now going to be Kate manager, what's Jim doing? I mean, he's still listed as having the same CAC 1 grade.
So he's a production director.
Okay. Okay. All in favor? Let's see where are we? Administration budget in the total amount of $627,550, which is basically all of our utility costs. Also.
I move to approve that as recommended.
Thank you.
I move to approve that as recommended.
Second.
I only have one question about this one.
Go ahead.
On March 14th, we voted for the audit, and it increased every year. 2022, last March, it was 37.5, which you have here. In FY23, it went up to 39,
Right.
and FY24 it went up to 40,005. So this, we're working on 24, but you still have it at 37.5. So is there a reason for that? Did they maybe reduce their costs?
I really wasn't aware of that.
No, I wasn't either. Having Charlie and I both kind of new this year to it, I think that's just something that was an oversight.
All right.
But
Well, I
what
could
you're
be
saying
wrong,
though,
too.
like, is that,
I could be wrong.
no, but
No, I think you're right. I think that was the contract.
it actually increased more than 37 for the 2023.
23 it went up to 39, and
39.
24 it went up to 40,005.
Yeah. Well,
It's not that much difference, but
right.
we'll probably
You
end
can
up,
vote the high number.
if you don't change it, we'll end up having to transfer money for that.
Well, it may be that, that maybe there's been a surplus in
Yeah, maybe, yeah, could be.
fuel.
Yep. That might be a possibility too, there's a surplus in it.
What were those numbers again, Mike? 37.5 and-
So on March 14th last year, we voted, I have to find it again. FY22 is 37.5 for the audit,
Yeah,
and then FY23 it went up to 39,
39.
and FY24 it went up to 40,005.
Okay.
I forget the name of was it Beal or something like that? Something Beal. The audit company.
Was that?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the name of the company.
I think you're right. Yep.
Okay, so how do we, okay, so if it's gonna be 39, so it's actually gonna be 39K for this year then.
But
So you might want to just look into it first,
Yeah.
and then they can make the adjustment later.
Okay.
And this is decided on April 3rd.
This voted on March 14th of last year. Last year.
I'll get the adjustment meeting minutes.
So, all right, that's all.
Nice catch.
I didn't really want
I
to
am-
touch it. That means more money.
Well,
So
this
it's
is true.
$3,000 more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be 630, 550 if you want to change it.
So do we want to take it out of some other line?
No, just put it,
Like postage?
go find it, so.
yeah, I'm sure he'll provide us a revised budget with that fixed. I don't think
So
we
it's
have to
gonna
do
be
much.
630?
Double check on that first.
Yeah, we definitely will, that's.
Yeah, like they may have to do it, we don't have to make any changes, so.
Okay. So what do you want to do with this then?
I just say pass it as is. I'm fine with it as is. If they want to make changes to the recommended budget, they have the right to do so until the full council vote. So
Yep.
they know if it's on them if they want to update it.
Okay. This is technically true.
If they want that money, they better change it.
Okay.
Otherwise, they'll be air conditioning the offices themselves.
All those in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we'll get more information on that.
And then we'll do the rest of it.
Data processing, right? It's nice.
Okay.
Data processing in the amount of $329,194.
So moved.
Second.
Can I get a request for more? It's already in there.
It's not in here.
Yes, unfortunately, I tried to keep it as simple and straightforward as the prior years without raising anything, but with inflation, a lot of our services have increased the renewals this coming fiscal year. Some were quick to respond, some I'm still working with. But right now it looks like roughly about $7,200 that I'm looking at right now that might need to be increased for them. One of them being Munis, which is about $5,000 difference compared to what we paid last year, and Archive Social, which is $1,200 more than we paid last year. So that a lot of them are increasing their service costs.
I remember when the thing that jumped out at me was the Munis cost for $143,500. What I mean, especially given the conversations we've been having with Francine and the runaround she gets from Munis. Quite frankly, is it even worth to keep it?
Well,
keep Munis? Is there anything out there we can do other than them? Because they really seem like it's getting ridiculous. Huh?
It's pretty costly to keep changing accounting software. I mean, Munis was decided,
Years
Munis
ago.
has its pluses and its minuses. And unfortunately, we're seeing some of the negatives. But
Yeah,
still, it's a
slightly.
big positive the town decided to go with it.
I've talked to some
Again, on this one here, if you wanted to vote the same thing, we could make the adjustment based on, Victor's final numbers, so. The document is still kind of fluid. I have an estimate in there for local aid, unrestricted general government aid, that I thought was gonna go up based on some things I heard, and then maybe it's not gonna go up. So there'll be some fine tuning on this thing. But regardless, as you did in the last one, you could either increase it, and I'd recommend we put money as needed in there, or we could adjust it when it gets the final number if anything else comes up. Now, Hannah also mentioned you were concerned about an extra cost due to the change in the IT situation at the fire department. Is that
Yes.
covered in that too, or?
That isn't part of this, because that one I have no idea at this moment. It's more recently an issue with dealing with that, and I'm working with GDS to onboard some services with them that are critical, like backup for data and endpoint protection for their machines.
Mhm.
And so I'm working with the technician for that, but I have no idea what those costs would be yet.
Is that something that would be done, if it's already being done, would that be in this fiscal year or next fiscal year?
It would need to be done sooner rather than later, yes.
But it'll also be carrying over into the, we need to correct the budget for next fiscal year.
And so, if I'm looking at my current budget and I know I still have a little bit to work with, so I'm hoping that I can accommodate that with her budget and then look at what we need to do for next year.
Now, some of that, it's my understanding that the fire department budget already carries some for the IT stuff, so stuff you're taking over from them will actually be coming out of their budget.
That's a discussion I have with the chief still, yes, but I would imagine so.
You may have another use for the money, but in other words,
Sure.
it won't be, IT, so we'd have to at least have that discussion, right?
So as far as that goes, then in the future, if you're gonna be covering some of the stuff with the fire department, and I don't know if you didn't do anything the police department requires either, would we be, maybe for future fiscal years, be rearranging the budgets a bit, kind of go back what we were talking about with onboarding stuff and putting more from those departments into his budget?
It's possible, but it depends really on what they are. The police certainly has a certain amount of, IT costs and so forth, procedures and everything else that is carried in their budget. So whether they're using another consultant as well, I'm not sure. But generally you do see that they, police departments generally have a consultant that they use that's more versed in, the requirements of security for public safety.
Yeah, I think Shane's mentioned that.
Again, if something happens, change it will be a adjustment.
Right.
Yeah, I think we had the discussion in PPP.
Yeah, I remember,
about this, so, and they mentioned that there are some things that have to remain in their budgets.
Right.
Very important to make sure IT is up to date, and a good firewall.
Oh, yeah,
We don't want to run into any problems with anyone hacking us and holding us ransom.
No Russians, okay?
We don't want
Speak from experience.
Yep, exactly.
No hackers here.
Hopefully.
Hold us for
Going forward.
ransom.
Anything else?
I have no questions, further questions on this.
Okay, all those in favor?
We have 5 minutes to stretch our legs.
Okay.
Because we have another 10.
We should be able to go through them pretty fast.
Well, did you,
I mean, if you don't want to.
What's that again?
329, 194?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, leave it.
So we'll have to address that.
Okay.
Oh dear.
We're gonna take 5 minutes. Is that okay for people? 5 minutes, okay. It is at 8:05.
Start recording.
And it is 8:12, and we are back in session. Okay, and let's see, we are on, where are we?
16, council reserve.
Council reserve budget of $100,000.
I'll move to approve as recommended.
I would like to point out that this actually says
Second.
10,000, it's missing a zero in the budget, in the agenda. It's missing a zero.
It is missing a 0.
But it is, always has been 100,000
Mine.
Huh?
No, on the,
on the agenda.
agenda.
But it is
I
100,000.
thought that should be cut down, because we have never come close to that.
Last year we did, right?
We do occasionally.
79, it says here.
That's the current fiscal, that's what we've spent this current, right? Is that the projection?
I think that's the amount we have in right now. I think that's what we still have, is 79. Am I correct?
Well, how many bills, do we have any unitemized bills that have, or any bills that have to go through town council reserves to be approved?
Not
That
that
we
I have
have.
on my radar, so nothing we've received in paper.
I'd be fine with cutting it down to 75 then.
Anybody?
I
What do you think?
For 80, maybe
John?
90.
Keep it where it is, because you never know.
I mean, the advantage of this line is that it folds right back into the regular budget if we don't use it, so.
But we are trying to save money this year, so.
Mhm.
We're always
I
trying to
was gonna
save
say,
money.
We're always, exactly. It's your guys' call, I don't care. Amendment.
I'll move to cut it by 20, I'll move that we recommend the cut 20,000 from that line item.
20,000 or
For
25 to 80?
To
Yeah, it is, okay.
$80,000.
I mean, have we ever gone closer to 100?
I can.
Once in a while, we have,
Accounting for it.
we have
4
occasionally,
years
Generally,
on
reserve
there.
fund, it's good to have a good round number. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like you're gonna spend it, but, you know, if you don't have it in there and something comes up, it's supposed to be for unexpected expenditures. And so, you know, I would recommend leaving it at the 100, but it's, I mean,
Yeah, I would
it just goes back into free cash if it's not spent. It's not like, you know, it is for unreserved, I mean, unexpected expenses.
sometimes it does, we do occasionally need it, yes.
I've never seen it go up to 800,000, never.
I don't think we, I
4
can't, I
years
can't,
of under.
No, but I mean, you know, you
Maybe
can
this
make that
year something
decision. If
happens.
something comes up that you don't have, you know, money for, that, you know, you have the ability then to
Yep.
just take it and say, okay, we'll take that or that. I mean, it's good to have a little cushion there.
we have occasionally used it, we have occasionally taken stuff and put it back into that account, after we used it. I think with some of this, like, was it last year? I think we used like 70,000 of it and we put a bunch of it back in.
Yeah, because we got
Something like
reimbursed.
that, yeah. You're right, I don't think I've ever seen it go all the way particularly close to 100,000.
No, I never have.
I'll make that motion.
So we have a motion to reduce it to 80 as a second. I'll second it for the sake of discussion. Okay. Anybody else have comments or questions?
I think we should leave it at 100,000. If it's been that way for, it's not an up or a down. It's just holding the same.
It's been 100,000 for as long as I can remember,
And it goes
About-
back into the,
and it does.
It has, you haven't used it all. I'm looking at your activity
Yep.
since 2021. And it looks like you had transfers out, revised budget. You started with 100,000. It looks like you had 28,000 left over fiscal year 2021. Fiscal year 2022, you had 55,000 left over. And then this current fiscal year, you've only used 21% of that budget so far.
Right.
I've advocated in the past for this one to be cut, so
Yeah.
I would be inclined to agree with Council Marquetti that I could shave 20 grand here, and when we're not spending close to it. And if for some godforsaken reason we were so close to needing that 20 grand, we could always dip in with a 2/3 vote to the stabilization fund,
Yeah,
for
we
20 grand.
Okay.
Like,
Or free cash.
or free cash even,
Or-
so yeah,
Or just
so.
a simple transfer someplace else, yeah. I mean, it's not like the money's not there.
I'm fine either way.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor of the 80,000? All those opposed? 4-1, 3-1.
So it's recommended 3-1. So that's the recommendation, not the change.
Okay, so we're recommending reducing to 80K. Good enough. Okay. Okay, we are at the, where am I? Personnel budget in a total amount of $4,667,206. Is this something you can entirely handle there, Adrian? The personnel budget?
So I didn't entirely manage all that. I mean, I did some of like that personnel line item.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So I did set the Medicare rate and the tuition. I did do that one. The recruitment I zeroed out. That's that. But that's that budget I just spoke to you about previously with mine. That's what I zeroed out.
That's right here, okay.
So that's why you see a 100% zero there. And then I set the Medicare rate, and then the retirement I did not set, or the sick and vacation buyback. I only set the tuition, Medicare, and the retirement. Those are the three accounts that I touched.
The retirement is our actual assessment. I checked with the retirement board.
Okay.
Make sure we have that.
448. Wait a minute. Okay, how come the retirement assessment is 4,488,731, but our total is 4 million? Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Okay, forget it. I'm reading the wrong one. Oh wait a minute. The number I have in here is 4,677,206. The one we have on the agenda is 4,667,000. Which is it?
What's on the agenda?
The agenda says 4,667,000. The budget book says 4,677,000.
You know, that one sounds like a typo from yours truly.
In the agenda or in the budget?
On the agenda.
On the agenda, okay. So that's the
So
number.
it should be 4,677,206.
Okay, okay.
I'll move to approve as recommended.
Is there a
Second.
So what happens to the 15,000 if this person decides not to retire? Does it just sit there in an account, or does it go back into the general fund?
You're talking about the
Right here.
The
recruitment?
vacation buyback. If that person decides not to leave,
Then what?
it just sits there, right? So not
It
used
just
to
sits
go.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't spend
You wouldn't touch it, right?
somebody has to draw.
Mhm.
And that's also a request. The department head has that, goes to the town manager for approval and everything else. You just don't take those out.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay.
Health and life.
Group health and life insurance budget, 4,299,600.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I noticed that our budget book says there are, a whole bunch of these things have no changes, but I thought health insurance is going up 8%, or thereabouts. Is that included in this final budget number here?
Which one are you talking about?
The health insurance budget, health and life insurance?
So we just had a revision, right, Charlie, to that, to our budget. But I don't know if we got it there on time.
So what's the number now?
I gave it to Charlie.
Because that's not on this chart.
No.
Right.
Rocket.
Where's the page number you have on that in the book?
For the budget book,
It's page 35.
Of section 3.
Right.
Yeah, section.
I have it open if you want to try it. I don't know why I'm not saying this here. That's bad.
Had it, oh, it's honking if it's mine.
Yeah. They have bad notices. They're
Oh,
usually-
I got a
they
crack
have
out of
bad
it.
notices, so they're usually being triggered by squirrels or something stupid. Nobody's actually stealing the car.
Not me. Okay, we're good.
By me.
I don't have one, so.
Yeah, I don't have one, so.
Well, I mean, this was generated from Eunice, right? It is really no
Nope.
change, right? In other words, you see, update I gave you last week about taking into the health insurance?
Oh, right, yes.
You meant at
And
the town council
the
meeting?
big problem we
I
have,
emailed it.
like
Oh.
on 70/30.
I didn't see it. I knew about the 70, I mean, obviously, we dealt with the 70, I remember you.
Did everyone see that?
Yeah, because we saved $200,000 off it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is great. Anytime we save $200,000.
Right.
I had gotten bombarded by emails.
I remember
The
reading that
budget for
email.
the school
Where is it?
is that, and that would be our total, so it's 7.2.
What do you mean, so?
That's the grant.
Group health and life insurance?
Yes.
Oh, no, that's
From
combined.
Easter
We're paying
weekend.
for
Easter weekend?
our share, the employer share would be
It was this Saturday.
4.7 for the employer share.
So we're looking at an increase from the original one of 500,000.
That's our share.
No, I understand that, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I see
there-
So we're
it.
looking at a $500,000 increase from the original one that was proposed?
Yeah, that got
It
buried
wasn't
so
really
quickly, I didn't even see
proposed, in
it.
other words, that came up because we had fairly.
To
new figures
identify
for
the
it.
car?
So let me just get.
That was
No.
just what came over from the previous year. Those
You
are
didn't
not actual
identify the
figures,
car?
because we didn't have the budget yet from Maya. So we were waiting for them to give us the budget, so it's just a placeholder.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
so we're looking at about a $500,000 increase in the group health and life insurance. So
We are, actually. What really happened is, the number we got originally from Cook and Company for last year was $4,951,769 with the 70/30 split. And that memo that I sent you showed what it would have
Yeah.
been with the 60/40 that we had before. So you can see the increase was over 700,000.
Okay.
Okay, I remember you mentioning that to me.
When we were verifying the enrollment, because when I was looking at the Schedule 19 from the school, we get credit for the health insurance that we pay for teachers. I mean, the numbers were quite a bit different on enrollment. So we dug into this. And what we found was that when Cook and Company presented this last year, they treated even retirees who are on the active plan at the 70/30 rate, figuring that everyone that was on the active plan was an active employee. But we do have a significant number of both town and school employees who are on the active plan, but they pay 50/50.
Yes, that's
So
right. That makes a
we
huge difference.
adjusted that, we had them adjust that. So the $4,951,769 went down to $4,007,552. So basically, we picked up, $200,000 off what I had been telling you before about what the increase would be.
So instead of a $700,000 increase, we're looking at a $500,000
Right,
increase.
which we said, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Which is about.
And that is because of, the 8.27% increase.
Yep.
Now, I did reach out to Maya on that to see whether or not they could make any adjustments, and they did talk to me yesterday, and they really can't, but they did come up with some suggestions. One would be to take a look at plan changes, which I don't think would really get done by this year anyway. But the second one, and I don't know, Adrian, if they had actually sent it to you last year, but they said they were proposing that when we have over age 65 employees who are not Medicare eligible because they don't have the quarters, sometimes it pays off to pay the premium that it would take to get them on Medicare, to get them off of our insurance, particularly those who are high up in years and maybe have some really high insurance costs. And they were going to give me a projection based on our actual experience, what we could save if we do that. So there'd be an upfront cost to pay to get these people onto the Medicare plan. Because the Medicare plan plus the supplemental has to be equal in benefits to the active plan. So no one's losing anything. It's just a question of how it gets paid. And of course, these higher costs then on Medicare don't go into our experience on our active plan. So that's how you save some money. They said that they had proposed it. Did you get that last year?
So they're actually, we had a meeting with Maya, and they're actually sending me all it's called the Post 65.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great, and they've only done this with a handful of communities, so this is really new. And they're gonna send me the information this week because I said we would definitely be interested in looking at that, because I think we're gonna be able to save a lot of money.
That would be good.
I think the retirees would like it.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
That's good.
right.
I don't wanna speak for all of us.
Okay.
So
Okay,
anyway, that's
Medicare.
something, you know, we won't be changing the budget here, but it may recover some, you know, money next year. And then it would also improve any future rate increase because
Mhm.
if a lot of the higher cost clients are off it, then
Right.
it doesn't hurt our experience, right? So,
Okay.
something to look at.
So then,
I'm
what number are we actually looking at?
4,800,
4,752.
4.8 million, right?
So 4.7.
4,752,000.
Yeah.
The actual numbers.
Roughly 4.8.
Yeah.
But we need an
Yeah,
actual
four.
number for this. We can just do roughly 4.8. We need a number.
Because this is only insurance, we need to factor in the life insurance.
And your email talks about a bunch of numbers, but it doesn't include the 4.752 million.
Because we just recently, we literally just got, because when
Okay.
we noticed that it was wrong, we had to go back and say, hey, but your budget is wrong. And actually this, when they redid it, it was in our favor, $200,000.
Well, that's always good, yeah.
They were
That's plus,
classifying
yeah.
people in the wrong split, right?
Right, sure.
So instead of putting them in the, accounting for them in the 50/50, we were accounting for them in the 70/30.
Yeah, I get that.
Which increased their cost, yeah.
Okay.
That's good, definitely.
So, the actual number then, the number that we would use for the group health and life insurance, well, what I proposed is, we have that 4,700,552.
So-
But you need to have kind of a cushion in there. In the memo that I sent out, the point was, we used to have a surplus in there between $800,000 and $900,000, which is nice to have, because that way if you get a huge increase in your premium, you might only have to put half of it on that, you know, take half of it out of the reserve. But that reserve was pretty much depleted by going to the 70/30. So
Okay.
when they presented it to you, when Mike presented it to you last year, he left roughly a $49,000 cushion in there.
Yeah.
So what I did is propose for the group health and life insurance, 4,750,002, which is 50,000 more than pretty much. Actually, right, no, what I'm getting at here is, see, I put in 51, so I actually put in my budget here, 4,750,002, but it looks like I missed the 55. So the number that we should have would be the 4,750,552 plus the other three.
4,755,52.
So
Plus 3,000.
4,750,552. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, so
Let me do the calculation.
Yeah.
Sorry.
4,750,552.
We're only up by $552. 500.
I mean, we could just do a round number.
It would be nice if we could, but
How about 4.8 million?
We have other things that have round numbers, why can't we have a round number on this?
I know, like,
What?
So 4.7.
Does it make it look more like we're down to the penny if we don't do $100,000?
if we
well, that's true, I suppose.
Very
yeah.
careful, we
Because
go
it-
right down to the.
So
I just
the
wanna know
numbers
what
that
we're
we
doing.
should really have in here is 4,750,552 plus 379,235 plus 320 and plus 50 for unemployment. So that should be
That's right, you need to.
5,499.
roughly 4.8 million.
So
I mean, million, not billion.
If the school department isn't laying everything off this year, that's.
Unemployment's in a different section of the budget though.
Okay, see, so 4.755 plus some other.
Because this, Charlie, the unemployment's in a different section of the budget though.
Okay. And then what else?
Oh, it's these three. So in other words, I had it there for 750,002. That looks like really, if we want to, it doesn't really matter, but that was the real number that we have. And the reason all I did is add a $50,000 surplus for that. So it's 4,750,552, and then
Hold on. We gotta clarify. We got
I'm adding-
several different items here that are insurance items that are several separate budget items.
right.
According to our agenda.
Yeah,
Yes.
and in our budget book. I just want to clarify, what are we talking about here? Because this item is the health and life insurance line.
Okay,
As opposed, things like unemployment is under our general insurance line.
right. So I was giving you the total insurance, but yeah, so the group health insurance, it should be 4,750,552.
Okay.
Right. And then the other ones, for the property and casualty, do you have 379, 235?
I see, the next line I have is group insurance for the school at 4,299,600. Which is the same number we have for this one.
So,
Wait a minute.
Well, wait a minute, let me look at.
Sorry, that's the whole, sorry, wrong, forget. I've got general insurance as 719,000. Which is the next item.
Alright, which sheet are we on here?
we're on
36.
group health and life insurance.
We're on item, okay, hold on, stop, hold on. We're confusing everybody. Okay, we are on item number 18, which is group health and life insurance budget, which we are now talking about 4,750,552.
Correct.
Okay, do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Well, where-
Before we confuse ourselves even more. Okay, any further comments on that item alone?
I think it should be, because of the uncertainty in the numbers, I think 4.8 would make more sense, given that extra couple $20,000 for this. Like, they're still like, they're machinating over numbers over here, and I would just feel more comfortable. We just set it at 4.8 million. It's
I know, but it's a tough year for doing
It
But
is.
those numbers come up with for the 370.
but then they'll give them much more time to such a floor for what it's gonna be. I don't know if they're ready.
I don't
Why
think
don't
they
you
are.
just postpone this one then? Did you say you were gonna have another meeting?
Well, we can. It is currently slated. At the moment, I don't have an agenda for it, but we could put it there if you want to.
So why don't we put the health and the insurances in the next,
Okay.
Well, look, I mean,
and that will give them some time to,
okay, I mean,
Charlie?
as far as the overall number, we really don't need a lot of time to change this thing. I was just trying to see what was actually in this 4.3 million. I mean, that number that came from Eunice didn't have any of the
No, it
current
was,
numbers that
no,
we
it did
had.
not have any other current numbers.
All right.
We just kept it as a placeholder because we were waiting for the budget from Maya. So the number you gave is the accurate one.
Okay.
Are you on page 35?
Yes.
So it's 4.9?
4.4,750,552.
So that's the one went up to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if you look at the individual numbers for each one of these, the group health and life would be 4,750,552. The property and casualty would be 379,235. The workers' compensation would be 320,000, and the unemployment would be 50,000.
Okay, the rest of those things are in the next segment. They all fall under the general insurance budget except for this one. Why it's separated, I don't know. I think that's always been an issue in past years too. Why it's not all.
So why don't you just take each one at a time, separate?
Well, that's what we're trying to do. That's why, because the way we have the life insurance budget is item number 18. That's what we're on now.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second to accept 4,750,552. All those in favor? What, go ahead.
Well, me and Martina both mentioned, I guess, did you want to postpone this? Martina, or no?
I'm
Let
fine
you-
with
You're
fine with it as
postponing
is?
it.
Okay.
I'm fine with adding a couple of thousand, and I'm fine with going with where we are. It's insurance.
What's the pleasure of the
Because
committee?
none of us like it.
I think if the TM is sure of that number, I'd go with the number, the 4,750,552.
Okay.
Yes,
That is
I'd
the
go
number.
with that.
Okay.
Okay.
And that is the motion that's coming
Yeah,
on.
I mean, it looks like in the past, it was rounded out. We had 4.3 million, for the health life insurance.
No, not this year.
Yeah,
Not this year.
if you'd rather do.
Doesn't matter to me. Just
Well,
what do you want to do?
I think we'd add 50,000, but that's.
No.
That's too much. But
Yeah, we don't have the 50,000.
Okay. So no rounding?
No.
No,
So
no.
Let's keep it.
Let's go with that
Keep it.
number.
Okay, okay, okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay.
If it comes back to be around 4.8 million, I'll be like, guys, I was right.
You could say that.
And she will tell you.
I will.
If you feel so inclined to say
I can
okay.
live with that.
Okay, item number 19 is the general insurance budget in the total amount of $719,000.
Is
How
that
is-
correct?
how is
Is
this
that actually,
changing?
is that number correct?
I don't know. I have no clue at this point. This is actually the most confusing budget year we've done in years.
Adriana, is the general insurance number correct still, 719?
You mean our account numbers?
No, for the general
General
insurance, we're
insurance.
on the next agenda.
I'm sorry, I'm not there yet.
Item number 19.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Is 719 correct? What's unemployment, workers' comp, all that?
That's the one just on unemployment workers comp.
Got into it a second.
It's what it's page number 36 in the general government section of the budget.
We're at 719 on that.
It includes workers' compensation for the town and the school, unemployment compensation, insurance, property liability, deductible, insurance premiums for injured on duty, and insurance premiums for the school.
Yeah, we're on it.
That number's good?
No, I think we better hold up on that one.
We'll hold off on this one and can we come back to this one?
All right, I move to postpone this to the next posted general government meeting.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All those in favor of postponement?
Like that, okay. Let's go.
Move on.
John's in the dark over there.
Yep.
The light just went out. No.
Yep.
Flap your
Let's see.
arms.
Under assessment budget, Central Mass Regional Planning,
move to approve as recommended.
$5,471.
Second.
2.5% increase to reflect the increase in the membership cost, right?
Yep.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah, it's simple. After that, we need a simple.
For next year's consideration, does this budget live in this subcommittee?
Yes.
Yes?
No, I mean,
Okay,
Really,
thank you.
logically, it should go to P&D, actually.
That
It's a
was my
central regional, it would make sense to
instinct,
put it there, yes.
but, well, you already approved it, so.
It's in this budget, but for future sense, it probably should go to P&D. There's some stuff in the general government section that's put there that really should be a separate section for P&D and planning stuff. That should all be together.
Next year.
Yeah.
I think it does. I think
When you have nothing else to do.
Right. All those in favor?
it's all right. So in other words, the only difference is
Simple ones are good.
Oh, yeah. Conservation
Okay,
Commission.
Historical Commission.
that's what,
I move to approve the $1,000 as recommended.
It's
Second.
historical. Conservation is in P&D.
Oh,
There's a couple items right after that jumps in historical.
Historical.
Those are,
I move to approve the $500 line item for Historical Commission as recommended.
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
getting it, I'm sure.
That was easy
That
too.
was simple.
Do we have
Okay,
a licensing board or not?
licensing board.
I move to approve that $500 recommended. budget.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Special articles,
So that's for
93,100. And that includes ambulance filling, Medicaid, OPEB study, and the reval. And she's got.
Rachel did indicate that she did not intend for that to be input, the reval.
So we take 35.
Yeah, she zeroed it out.
Yeah,
But it's still listed in here, and I was curious
Well, it's
about that.
listed in there because it was carried over.
But now it's not either.
It's not there, she's
Okay.
not right.
I was curious about the why the 2023 revised budget has a negative $58,000 in change.
No, reval is right here.
And I think one of the reasons why we were putting in some money for reval is because it accumulates over 5 years, and
Well, usually
previously we wanted to make sure there was enough to fund it.
3 years, so usually you put it in a 3 year.
Yeah.
The third year, enough to do it.
But now it's 5 years.
Is it?
I think it is, yeah.
So, I mean,
Oh, yeah,
the 93,100, had the revale services for 35, ambulance billing for 33, Medicaid for 20,000, and OPEB study for 5,100. So that's where it all came from.
Right. And what exactly is that OPEB study anyway?
Is that the revaluation of their?
No, there's the OPEB study under the town accountant.
It's,
That's not clearly identified what even that is.
So
OPEB actuarial
So the new
study.
total for this line item actually should be 58,100
58,100?
because there's no $35,000.
Right.
Right, okay.
So I move that we approve that recommended amount.
second.
Okay. All those in favor? Debt service.
And that's section.
That's a separate section. Section 7.
Thank you. I wouldn't have known that. I still don't know. I've done this so many times I still don't know my section.
Yeah.
It's all
debt-
right.
Okay, debt service is $3,019,561.
Move to approve as recommended.
Second.
I'm so tired of seeing these interest rates, because we're getting tattooed because we don't have public banking.
We're still paying on the armory?
We're paying on all of these things because projects cost way too much because we're getting rooked by private industry and private banks. We need public banking.
I mean, I have no other. I mean, there's nothing we can do. It's our
There's nothing we can do about
debt
it.
services. So it is what it is.
It is what it is, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Well, who made the motion on that one again?
I made the motion.
Second?
Ms.
Second.
Rivas. Council Rivas, excuse me. Council Rivas.
Capital expense proposals, which is the next section number. I'm sorry, section number 9, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's 9.
Section 9. Since this is all we've got left, let's get them over with.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to say it was really a pleasure working with Councilor Marquetti on this.
Oh, thank you.
It was, I learned a lot from him. I really did.
That's good.
I enjoyed my time. Oh, I did! I really have to say that. I have to give him credit. He was so prepared. He came with so much knowledge.
Adriana stepped up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's good to know.
So the capital plannings were produced after the budgets were already handed out, so then I emailed them to you in the upstairs hard
I
copy.
got it.
That's okay,
Yep.
But keep that one.
Perfect. Yeah,
So I apologize if you, I should have brought them down.
It's okay, thank
I've
you,
got
no
mine.
worries.
If you want to see them.
Do you have? Oh, you need the hard copy.
And I have it on mine.
Yeah, we can look it up together.
If I could just comment. on
Please
this
do.
one.
Just like you did for your.
On this one, we were trying to be very, very conservative because we know that a lot of the counselors, and me included, want to concentrate on facilities this year. The buildings are in rough shape. This town hall is in rough shape. I know they're getting a new fire station, but we're still gonna have to do something with the old one. The police department building needs work. DPW building needs work.
Mm-hmm.
And
Town hall.
the school.
Yeah, the school is really tough.
So we went really conservative. I recommended taking out all vehicles. The committee wanted to put the police cruisers back in. I'm okay with that.
I would have no problem getting rid of one of them.
That's what I wanted, getting rid of one of them at least. But the committee recommended putting them in, so I had to go with the committee.
I get that. I get that.
But we were okay with one as well.
Okay.
We went back and forth. Do we want to give them one or two? So either way, I think the committee would have been happy with either way.
Okay.
I will say that's the one thing I will not cut. I will not vote to cut that. I've been a strong advocate that we need to be replacing them at a faster rate, not a slower rate. When it comes to public safety, and that making sure they have vehicles that work.
So what happened on that one was the committee saw that the IO rack replacement in the water department was not going to be coming out of stabilization. It was going to be coming out of the water stabilization fund. So they realized the $265,000 savings. So they put the two vehicles back in. The other things we pretty much went with. I was also opposed to the truck, the snowplow at the school. However, I can see the need for it. I just thought we do have a policy in this town a town policy that if they want a vehicle, they should produce a report. He didn't really produce any kind of report. He just said that the body was rusted out, and I thought, well, the body is inexpensive to replace, but the committee decided to put the snowplow back in, to make sure that the schools are plowed during the winter time.
Is there any way we can reduce that by just replacing the body and having them transfer the existing snow plow to the new truck?
That's what I
Would that
thought,
work?
but like I said, the committee voted to put it in.
Right, and I think they said it was really rusted and
Really
they
rusted.
couldn't really,
The plow itself or the truck or
the
both?
truck as
The
well, the
body.
cabin and the body, so.
No, I was saying, can we transfer the existing plow from the old truck to the new truck?
Oh.
And therefore save some money
I
on
think
bike?
we asked
Because
that,
it
we didn't
looks
ask
like-
that, we asked
No,
about
it's
the
a good
body of the
question.
vehicle.
Yeah, that's a good
That's a good question.
Unless you recently replaced the plow, usually the plows are in pretty rough shape after the
Yeah,
time. But I mean, you didn't really look at it.
So in the end, we were very conservative. As you could see, we split it between capital stabilization and free cash.
Yeah.
And that leaves you with still almost $1 million in capitalization in case you want to fix the buildings up, which really need a lot of work.
Desperately.
And it also saved us, $2.5 million in free cash, which helps with our credit rating. And as Charlie said, might be able to use it to offset the budget. The things that we took out, the reason we took them out, the dump trucks, because last year we gave them a lot of vehicles and they never even bought them until this year.
Right.
And also, I've taken a ride down there. They have a pretty good looking fleet down there, so we didn't think they needed it. The pumper truck for the fire station, they are getting a new fire station.
Right.
We wanted to wait until they get the new fire station. The pumper truck, we thought they could hold off on that for a year. There was a constituent at the meeting who said that with mutual aid, he thought that they might be able to hold off on the pumper truck for this year.
Okay.
The parking lot at the library, we thought it didn't look that bad, she could hold off on that. The water department, the Ford Escape, he said there was really nothing wrong with it. He just thought it was policy that they replace them. And the TIP project has been put on hold, so we took that out.
What is the tip project for
That's
water
for
department?
the rotary that they're gonna build over there by Hook Street, I think.
Oh, that's for the water department?
No,
It says it under water department.
yeah, that's what he said, because it's something to do with the water and sewer or something.
Oh, really?
So they would have
So
to.
they put that on
they
hold
would have
again?
to-
They put it on hold, that's what they told
Because
us.
that keeps getting, so when are they supposed to do it
Next
now?
year, maybe, next year.
Because I knew that they were gonna be doing like either 24 or 25, because it was really supposed to be done this year.
So that's what we came up with, a total of $1,035,000. I think it's very conservative, and it really makes our capital stabilization and our free cash, those are good, healthy amounts to keep. So that's why we went with that.
I have two
Okay.
questions.
Go ahead.
One, I remember at the school committee presentation
Yeah.
where about the emergency repairs, the receiver talked about applying for a reimbursement. So what happens to the funding that we vote in if they get the reimbursement from the state?
If it's town funds, it comes back to town pockets.
It should.
So because it's town money being spent on capital, it would come back if they got a reimbursement for it.
It should.
I'm
Do you
not
have
sure,
stabilization?
I don't recall that he meant, the money that we're appropriating in this capital budget. I mean, those are the money we have to spend because he doesn't have the ability to apply for MSBA reimbursement on it.
No, this is different.
Oh,
No,
no.
this is the thing he was talking about last night about trying to comply with specific repairs to allow 911 calls to go to
That's
specific
the phone
classrooms.
system.
Right,
That's the
right.
phone
Yeah.
system.
That's the phone system upgrade.
Right, that's the phone
And the
system,
emergen-
that's there, yeah.
And the emergency repairs are just in case something else falls apart,
Right,
which he does all
right,
the time.
right.
Go ahead. I saw Jackie first and then Martina.
That's all.
So I first want to thank Councilor Marquetti and his committee for the work they did. I'm actually with you on the maintenance truck and snowplow. I think they can deal with it for another year. I'd actually want to see that swapped out for the F-350 for the DPW. I think it's important that every department get capital needs met. The DPW got nothing. The school system got 3. I think it'd be fair to knock one thing off the school system, which I think they can deal with having that truck for another year to plow the driveway, and allow the DPW department to get a vehicle they need repaired for town work.
I'll talk.
I think that would be my
What
recommendation.
she's saying here is.
Well, like I said,
Okay.
I have been over there, they have a
We
pretty
have
good
to-
looking fleet of trucks. I also know that that building over there
That's
needs some
all.
work. It also has some environmental issues that we're gonna have to deal with eventually. So
Yeah.
that's why we went conservative. I also have to say that this last capital
That number.
budget last year, we put in money for the DPW department, and they never even purchased them until this year. They came to our meeting and said, we need an additional amount of money because the cost of these vehicles, which they never bought, went up. So I thought if you can hold off a year like this, like you did last year, you should be able to hold off another year for the rest of the trucks. So that's why we did.
Which is why I understand most of them,
Okay.
but I think the 350 I think is a reasonable accommodation to make sure that we're spreading our capital needs evenly throughout the town.
Okay.
I understand the work and what you've done, and like I said, I agree with you on the snowplow, but I think that it's important that we make sure that
Okay.
we include the DPW.
So are you do you want to make that as a motion?
Yes, I will move to recommend that we strike out the maintenance truck with snowplow under school and instead add a DPW line for the F-350 for 130,
In other words,
which would increase
we have
the
only.
request amount by a total of 30,000, bringing the total amount to $1,065,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other changes? Well, let's vote on that one change first. All those in favor?
Changes.
No? Okay.
Oh, about the capital, I'm
Uh,
sorry.
That
Any
one,
no's?
no, I wanted to vote no on that. I still want to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, she
I
was in
haven't-
line.
You're right, go ahead.
Haven't
I'm sorry
had a
about that.
chance
Sorry
to
about that. You're
speak
right.
yet.
Go ahead. Okay.
Okay. Now, we have two things going in the school system. We have the phone system that has to be changed.
Absolutely.
By
That's a law.
By law, yeah.
So that's not like we're getting something
No,
like
that's in
a
there.
truck.
I get it, yeah.
The other is our buildings. We are taking we have a company coming to look at our buildings.
Yeah, the master-
We're gonna put that all together, and now the state is letting you use state money to fix buildings. They used to have to build a brand new building, so we've got this pile of money and we have this pile of money. But I don't see us getting, you said we were going to do something so everybody got something, and we won't get the buildings minimum for 2 years.
Yes, that's right.
Because we're just going through the
The master plan process.
master plan and going to the state, and the state never gives you the money the first time.
And I understand your point, Martina, but my thought process is the school district is getting huge increases in their regular operating budget while the DPW is not. Right, so I think that there needs to be some consideration for the needs of our DPW, which is understaffed and undersupported, and has routinely been understaffed and unsupported by this town for a very long time.
Very true.
So, I'm sorry, no offense, Miss School Committee Chairwoman, but I think your school system's got enough damn money. So,
We never have enough money.
so I just feel like it would be more appropriate to take, if they don't wanna do that, they don't wanna do that, but that's my recommendation.
So what is it, to remove the truck?
The idea
Yeah.
is to take out the school maintenance truck
And then replace it with the
F-350.
DPW with F-350.
Oh, okay.
So that way DPW gets something, because they're not currently getting
No, they
anything.
didn't get anything.
We just voted though. There were two.
Okay, we actually haven't voted yet.
Because
she-
Martina didn't get to
she
speak, so he
comment
stopped the
first.
voting to let Martina
So
speak.
she had time. Okay,
But
are there
does
any-
the
go ahead.
school have another snowplow
I
that they
just want to
can?
point out, this is our recommendation as a
Right.
committee, so.
Yeah,
Right.
right, it's your recommendation this is your recommendation,
To
and
your
now we're doing a recommendation.
Our recommendation.
Based on your recommendations.
All right.
Charlie still has the final say about what he's bringing forward. That's for the charter.
Yeah,
That's
The
true.
The
This is
council
true.
has the final say.
Yeah, the council has the final
Approve
say,
this,
that's true.
approve, yes.
Right,
Or change it if we should
It's the
so change
manager's,
it.
it's the manager's budget.
it is.
I
You know,
stand,
thought
I
we
stand by
received a-
this.
Yeah, I thought
I
they
stand by
made-
this
made a
because
pretty good presentation.
I wanted to
for this
compromise.
capital stuff, and I was pleased
Yeah.
to see that the capital committee, funded it out of free cash and stabilization, so that it took that out of the budget. And that was
Yeah.
a big thing that helped us get down to what I think is a manageable increase, you know, based on the budget we're proposing, so.
Well, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. I agree with that totally.
Certainly do what you want for recommendations, but I certainly support, you know, the capital committee's decision on that, because I think, you know, the school only presented what they really felt they needed for capital this current year, and I think we should fund it.
I have another question
Go ahead.
before we vote on the urban renewal.
That was one of the ones not
That was not
recommended.
recommended. I just wanted to hear about that.
Yeah, what is that?
I think that, didn't she move that, I forget now, I think she moved that to, some other funding or something.
She did, and that wasn't her priority.
Right,
She-
so why-
she-
that's
that
what it
not-
was.
she-
We asked them to rank them, and that was not her priority.
That was not her priority, so
Okay.
that's why we
But
felt.
what we gave her, open space, that was her number one priority.
I thought that was funded by CDBG.
Well, it's a different funding source, but still goes through capital plan.
Right.
Okay,
So would it,
But I don't know, I don't think that is funded by CDBG,
I
is
think,
it?
I think
No,
it's
we
in the
built it
CDBG
there.
plan
We built it
for the
there.
next year. It went through a public hearing process. I was there. You were there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that might have slipped by us. I thought it
But
wasn't.
she said it was like not really her
Well, it would be right here.
priority,
It
and
would
we
be
have
in
it
this
in our.
document, I think.
Yeah,
If it's in here, it's in this document, where it comes from.
so,
I didn't think it was coming from, no, it is a grant, so we could take that out. It's a grant.
it's a grant.
That brings us down to 1 million.
Mhm.
Not bad. I still stand by our proposal.
I mean, I don't have a problem with just mentioning it because, I mean, you're right, it is technically capital planning, but it isn't an object, it's just a plan.
A plan,
They're
right.
creating a plan. It's not really capital, devices like
But
we
being
normally
a
consider
grant,
capital.
we'll get that money back
We
once
are.
it's so,
Right.
right.
The
So
one,
there you have it.
okay,
That's it.
okay, what I'll do is we'll take a vote on the motion that's currently on the floor to replace the school snowplow truck with the DPW F-350. All those in favor? All those opposed? Tie vote, it fails.
I move that we add the F-350 to the to the recommendation from the capital expenses.
Is there a second?
Okay, but technically you're just doing the same vote, aren't you?
No, because now I'm
Now
not
she's
replacing
just
anything, I'm
adding
just
to it.
adding it.
She's
Because I
adding
feel
it.
that it should be added. I felt that it was a necessary item to make sure.
Okay.
So essentially, if we take out the 40,000 for economic development, then really what we would be, the request would be for, it would be 90 over than our recommendation. $90,000 over our recommendation.
So it would be $1,125,000, which, again, if we split it up evenly, would be about 550 and some change from each account, which would still leave a lot of money in both.
Oh, yeah, this is quite a bit money.
So, and this way, all of our departments get some attention.
So what, like I said, let's look at the recommendations here.
I would be in favor of adding the F-350, but without checking with the economic development coordinator, I wouldn't want to eliminate the 40.
Well, no, it will stay there, right, because we'll get the reimbursement from the grant.
Yeah,
So it still stays there, but
Yeah, it's being done by
we're gonna get funded
CDBG.
for that,
I mean,
right?
we're just gonna get the money back anyway.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right.
It's
I get it.
CDBG, so.
I don't understand how project updating a recreation and open space plan can come from capital.
Exactly, I don't see why it's in there, to be honest with you. It's,
I mean, it doesn't meet our requirement for capital.
it doesn't.
What?
It doesn't meet our requirement for capital.
What doesn't?
expenditure. The open space
Open space
recreation
plan.
plan update.
Because it's over 10,000.
But it's,
Because
but
we
it's,
said
but
it's
it's not
over
an item.
It's not like a capital item that you would appreciate or
Yeah.
that you would
Right.
use for a period of years, so I don't see how we can fund it.
Well,
I
that
mean,
was
but,
brought forward when
yeah, but
Karen
not-
Harder was running the committee, that was brought forward.
She brought it forward.
Yeah, but
No,
I
your
agree
point,
with you.
we agree with you.
maybe you ought to hold on the capital, are you gonna meet again or no on this?
I mean, if you want to, we can hold off and do it the next meeting.
Yeah,
I was kind of thinking of doing
Maybe
it
we need to
anyway,
talk to her
so.
about that and find out
Okay.
Because, I mean, if the
Because
decision
we're
was
gonna,
that the
we're gonna do the
F-350,
insurance anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
if the F-350
To
wasn't
postpone.
needed
All of the
to be
capital
done,
items until then?
I
Yeah.
mean, I think we
Okay.
gotta look into a little bit more what the
Well,
condition
the
was.
problem with the vehicles, like I said, the problem with the vehicles is that we have a town policy. You wanna bring a vehicle forward, you bring us a full report on this vehicle, and none of them brought any reports.
Right.
So I wasn't too pleased about that, which is why I didn't wanna fund it.
Yeah.
That's
At least
You
show
have
me
to have
some
that,
kind
otherwise how
of
can
a
you make this
report,
up?
what's wrong with the
That's
vehicle.
understandable.
Right,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you need more time to develop this and get more fixes, is what it sounds like.
Do we wanna
So I move,
reevaluate
There is a
this?
I just
motion.
moved to
She's moved.
postpone.
I'll second.
Yeah, well, in particular, I hadn't even noticed the open space and recreation plan update. That doesn't seem to be the reasonable use of capital
Alright.
Okay,
money. So-
Okay.
That's a
So
good
let's
point.
look into that a little bit more.
okay.
Alright.
And,
All those in favor of postponing? Good night.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
Second.
All in favor? Let's go.